I'm all tagged up.
Here we go. Ready? One, two, three. And we are live on a Wednesday with no football this weekend, boys. What are we going to do? Mr.
No,
Siciliano, how are you with your Alabama hat still?
Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing? No football, not good.
I know, I know. And Mr. Kirkpatrick's got the Yankee hat back on. How are you, my friend?
got the Yankee hat back on. I'm doing well. I got my fully vaccine, boys. I'm feeling good.
Good. That's good
Very
news.
good.
Good
I'm
news.
feeling good.
Yeah, what are we going to do this week, man? I mean, what is going on? I mean, what are we going to it's crazy. No football. I don't know. I might have to start working out, clean up a garage or something. I don't know what to do Saturday, Sunday. Well, no, Sunday's Valentine's Day. We're okay this week. It's next week. What are we going to do?
Watch basketball.
Yeah, I'm pumped up. I had a bad basketball night last night. My Knicks blew a game. My St. John's blew a game. But what's on the show tonight, Mr. Kirkpatrick? I'm excited.
Well, obviously, we got to do our little Super Bowl recap. Of course, we were going to have, last week we told Michael and we told Jim victory party, but obviously only one can have a victory party and one's going to have more of a venting session, I'm sure. And the victory party is going to the Buccaneers. Congratulations to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for winning Super Bowl.
I was wrong on that pick. I picked Kansas City.
We're gonna get into all that with Michael. Michael's gonna come on. Michael Llauget.
You also picked tails on the coin.
Big creamsicle Bucs fan. He'll be on shortly with us, and then Jim's gonna come on, I believe, at 8:30. About the Chiefs, and then a little later we got a couple of authors going to switch it up a little bit. No football. We got a couple of authors. We grew up with our good friend Anthony Gangi. Wrote a book called Inmate Manipulation Decoded, and he's bringing on another author of another one of our friends named by Connie Elaney, and she wrote a book called The Cage Was Her Cocoon. So we're going to have both of them on at 9 o'clock. And then we're going to get into a little basketball towards the end, since we've got to segue into basketball now that football season's over.
Yes, sir.
But the way to start the show off, guys, is bringing back a segment that has been way long overdue.
Yes, sir.
That segment is called Rapid Fire with Sis.
You ready to roll?
We're ready to roll.
Rapid fire roll.
Okay, here we go. First question of the night. Who's a better receiver? Amari Cooper or Sammy Watkins?
Go ahead, Kenny.
Not a fan of neither one. I got to go.
You had to pick one. You got to pick one. So.
I got to go Amari Cooper.
I'm with Kenny too. I agree with him. I'm not a fan of either one either, but I will go Amari Cooper.
But I will tell you this. I know it's rapid fire, but I'll tell you this, Mike. If you told me that Cooper, for the money that Cooper wants, I'll take Sammy Watkins.
Okay. Second question. Super Bowl hero of all time. Kenny?
Super Bowl hero of all time?
Yep. I know who you're going to pick.
Gotta be Eli Manning.
No way. That's your pick? Okay. Kurt?
My pick is on this wall. Number 7, baby. He got me 2 rings. Number 7, John Elway.
Okay. I have to get in on this. Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, I could have went Lawrence Taylor. I figured
that's what I really thought you were gonna. Okay.
Oh, I could have, but to beat Brady and the undefeated Patriots, that had to be my guy.
Okay. Kurt, we'll go to you. Best player this year, either team in the Super Bowl.
For the whole season, or just in the Super Bowl?
No. This year's Super Bowl.
Oh.
Either team. Who was the best player?
Devin White, Tampa Bay.
Okay. Kenny?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Brady. Brady still looked like himself, man.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll go to Kenny for this one. Better defensive coordinator, Spagnuolo, Todd Bowles, or Joe Brislin?
No brainer. Coach Joe B.
Coach Joe B's chiming in, by the way, saying JPP or Devin White was his best player on the field.
And you know what?
Kurt, same question.
You know why? You know why it's Coach Joe Brislin? Because not only did I was at Ramapo, I know Coach Brislin. That's not the reason why. But Todd Bowles learned last week from Joe Brislin, who's coming on at 8:45, which I forgot to mention.
Absolutely.
Todd,
his whiteboard segment.
Todd Bowles was on a Zoom last week. He wrote all that down.
Hey, you know what, sis? Coach Breslin saying, thanks, fellas, LOL. But I'm going to answer Coach Breslin, too, because just what Kenny said. And Coach Breslin, we were texting a little during the Super Bowl, and his text was, I said, Coach, you nailed it. Exactly what you said is what they did. And he said, maybe Bowles watched the show. And maybe he did. So Coach Breslin is my pick on that one.
Same here.
Coach Breslin, I'm going to write to Coach Todd Bowles in a week or two when things settle down and see if he wants to come on our show. We'll definitely have you on.
That would
be great.
Next question. We'll start with Kurt. Were you surprised Mahomes not throwing a TD pass?
Stunned.
Yeah.
Stunned.
Gangi?
1,000,000% stunned.
Okay. We'll start with Kurt on this one. Highest level that you ever played football on?
Highest level?
Yes.
High school.
Kenny?
Pee-wees.
Cool.
No, more flag football, but I was more baseball, basketball guy.
Okay.
Coaching football, different level.
Yes, sir.
Kurt? Tom Brady's favorite meal?
See,
I gave you this one before.
You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I guess I was working too hard and I didn't pay attention, which is probably like me. But I always thought he was I know he's a big avocado guy, but if you're saying a meal, I'm gonna have to go grilled chicken and rice.
Very good.
He stole my thunder. I was gonna go right there with grilled chicken.
It's roasted chicken and vegetables.
Okay, that's not bad.
You guys were good.
Not bad.
Kenny, I'll go to you first on the next one. Will Todd Bowles get a head coaching job next year?
I believe so. Well, not next year because all the jobs are pretty much taken. But you're talking about when the season's over. I believe so.
Right.
I believe he's going to be a top candidate again.
Kurt?
I don't think he has to win a Super Bowl, but I think he has to have a top 10. Like, I don't think they could fall off the earth. If he stays in a top 10 defense, I think he will get another job. But a hell of a job by Todd Bowles. Hell of a job.
Absolutely. We'll go to Kenny on this one. Best linebacker on Tampa Bay this year, David White or Barrett?
That's tough.
Ooh, you can even JPP is more of an edge rusher, but that's really tough, sis. I'm going to go Devin White. I love Devin White. Only because all three of them close to equal, but Devin White
I agree.
That's more of a favorite pick there. More of not a biased pick. They're all legit, but
I agree.
I like Devin White.
It's actually crazy because you could pick all three. I mean, Barrett's. Barrett was a Bronco in when we won the Super Bowl. He was a backup linebacker behind Vaughn and DeMarcus Ware. So I'm always going to have a little favoritism to him, but listen, David, was just unbelievable because, covering and shutting down Kelsey, but Devin White and Coach Breslin just saying White because he can do multiple things. I agree. That guy goes sideline to sideline, flies around the field. He's a blitzer. He could cover a little, and he's a tackling machine. So, Kenny, I'm with you. I'm going to go Devin White.
Now, if you guys were paying close attention Super Bowl Sunday to the announcers on television, this next question should be a no-brainer. I'll start with this.
Before you go, I want to know yours on this one. Because you're a defensive guy.
Devin White, Lavernian Wright. The kid David is the best linebacker. No, Devin White is the best linebacker. You're getting me confused tonight. Yes, Devin White. If you guys were paying attention to the Super Bowl, this next question should be a no-brainer. I'm going to start with Kurt because he's a former coach. Did Antonio Brown run the wrong route on the TD catch? Yes or no?
I'm going to say no. He ran that little out to whatever you want to call it, curl in or dig in, whatever. I forgot there's a name for that route. No way.
Kenny, I just gave you the answer.
Well, since this chimed in and did the Family Feud X, I'm going to say
Right, yeah.
he did run the wrong route. Just out of default
He
there.
ran the wrong route. Yep.
But I didn't. All joking aside, it was a good mistake.
Yeah, oh yeah.
What happened? The linebacker was inside? Is that what happened? Or
Tony Romo brought it up. I think the linebacker was inside, and I don't know, I guess instead of running, I guess he was supposed to run a slant route, and he didn't. He did an out route. The next question, which I think is a great one. We'll go to Kenny first. Should Russell Wilson have a say in personnel input? Yes or no?
I'm old school. I say no, but you know what? Deshaun Watson's getting away with it. All these pros are getting away with it now, so he's gonna have input.
That's a good answer, Kurt.
But I don't like it.
Kurt, same question.
You're saying Russell Wilson, right?
Did he have input in personnel? Should he have any input? And I go along with Kenny. I'm old school. I say no, he shouldn't. But
I'm with you guys. No, that's a general manager, president, owner. No, shut up and play. No, I agree.
Are you going to the CEO of your company?
Right.
Are you going to the CEO of your company and saying, "Hey, I want this guy on board to work with us"?
Right.
You're not doing that.
You're not doing that.
If you can go to them and say, "Hey, but I don't know. I don't like it." You're paid to play football. You're not paid to make the decisions.
But Kenny, you brought up a good point. The way the game is revolving, this is part of it now. These guys have that kind of input. Again, we're old school. So.
Well, I'll just tell you guys this though, and sis, I just want to get one more comment, but
all right.
And Kenny, you tell me what you agree because that was a great question. But all we kept hearing, Kenny, of who's the big name to get? Who's the big name to? What quarterback is the big name to get? Is Deshaun Watson? Deshaun Watson? Deshaun Watson? I could tell you this: if it's Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson won me 2 NFC championships. Russell Wilson won me a Lombardi trophy. What the hell has Deshaun Watson ever won? So he's not getting any input, Deshaun Watson, because he's done nothing. Russell Wilson, a little bit, but I'm still with you.
I know we're on rapid fire, man. We got to get Mike in. My only quick question, guys, would be, do you want Deshaun Watson on your team? Sis, if the Giants had a chance to get Deshaun Watson, but we had to give up multiple first-round picks, would you want a guy like that? Because in 2 years, when we're 6-10, because we gave up our first-round picks,
he's going to want to leave.
He's going to sit out and want to leave again. Yep. Do you want that on the Broncos, Kurt? Give up all your first-round picks, and then you guys are 6-10 in 2 years, and he wants to leave?
I know. Listen, I said this to you too.
I don't want that if I'm the Jets. I would not do it if I'm the Jets.
I'll tell you this, and we'll get into this later, but. We got into.
I know we're in rapid fire. I changed it up.
I have one more rapid fire.
Okay, go ahead, sis. Go ahead. I'll finish that point later because we'll probably get into that at some point.
Before I get
into this topic later. Sorry.
No problem. Before I get to that, the word on the street today is Garoppolo is going back to New England. Okay. Last question for rapid fire tonight for Kenny and Kurt. Kenny, will Kansas City or Tampa Bay get back to the Super Bowl? Yes or no?
Yes, it's very possible you can. It's hard to repeat. We've seen that with the Chiefs, but Bucs are going to bring everybody back. How do you stop them next year? Like, who's going to stop them in the NFC, and who's going to stop Mahomes in the AFC?
Okay, Kurt. Either or, Tampa Bay or Kansas City, do they get back to the Super Bowl? Yes or no?
I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to say that I'm going to lean more into Tampa Bay. I think Kansas City is going to have some problems now.
Okay. And that, gentleman, completes our round of rapid fire from Sis for tonight.
Awesome, sis.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Good job, Mr. Sis. And Kurt, I'm going to let you introduce our first guest. It's our Tampa Bay fan. He'll be on in a second. And there he is.
There he is.
Just congratulations. I'll let you introduce the Bucs fan.
Mike, can you hear us?
Yeah, how you guys doing?
Oh, listen. Hey, here's the. I'm just going to go off script right now.
We're okay, but we know how you're doing.
Yeah,
we don't even
listen,
have to ask.
Listen, how have you slept anything since Sunday night?
So I think I went to bed on Sunday at like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Atta boy.
I was so wired, I just couldn't fall asleep.
Atta boy. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Yep.
congratulations,
Thanks.
Mike.
Congratulations.
Well
Thank you.
deserved.
Yeah, it was definitely it was a good night.
I gotta say, it was a little shocking. Listen, I'll be the first to tell you I was wrong. I'm gonna be honest. I picked 26-24, so I was not one that's Kansas City's gonna blow them out. I didn't think of that just because of the Tampa Bay defense, but I was wrong, man. Props to him. Props to Todd Bowles. I mean, that guy.
Yeah.
Listen, he stepped up. He did. He shut him down. And so I don't know. So just explain. Let's start with
Let's
this.
give Mike the floor for
Yeah,
a
let's
couple
start.
minutes, and then we'll ask him some
Explain
questions.
Sunday night in the household. What was going on?
In my house, it was great. It was me, my wife, and my son. We were just relaxing, getting ready for the game. And as I was watching the game, we talked about some factors the week before, right? About turnovers. We talked about third down percentage conversion. We talked about red zone defense. And we talked about the amount of plays that Kansas City ran in the first game versus Tampa Bay, right? So at the end of the day, when you looked at all that stuff, Tampa Bay won the turnover margin +2. They held them to, I think, 3 for 13 in third down conversions. And I did get nervous because I had said that, in my opinion, I thought that they should spy on third downs. So on that first series, it was 3rd and 7. I don't know if you guys remember.
Mahomes with the run. Yep.
For 11 yards. And I'm like, oh, here we go. This guy's going to be doing it all night. But thank God that didn't happen. And then in the red zone, which was shocking, that Kansas City didn't score a touchdown. I mean, listen, Tampa Bay's got a good defense, obviously, right? But for Kansas City not to score at all, I mean, they're averaging 34 a game. I think that's the first time in Mahomes' pro and maybe even college career where he didn't even score a touchdown. And then if you look at the number of plays that was run, it was fairly even. I think it was like 3 or 4 play difference in favor of Kansas City, but that's what you wanted because then that allowed Tampa Bay's defense to rest a little bit. So as far as those things that we had talked about last week, they played out in Tampa Bay's favor, and that propelled them. I guess you want to talk about how did they get those stats, right? So we had talked about the 2 shell, right?
Yep.
And Coach Brislin came on and he gave a great presentation. I liked some of the things he was talking about.
Coach Brislin will be back on at 8:45. We don't know what the mastermind's going to have for us, but he's going to have something on the board for us.
It was great because, not to take away any thunder there, but one of the things that he showed was the ability to double, which I had also talked about out of that 2 shell. And regardless if Kelsey and Hill were on the same side or if they were opposite, you could still double team them.
Mm-hmm.
It was either 4-on-2 if they were on the same side, or it was 2 versus 2 if they were split. So Tampa Bay always had an answer for them, which was nice. Jamel Dean playing was a big deal. He had a really good game. He was able to have a speedster in there. And defensively, Todd Bowles, he said, look, I got 4 down linemen that are really good, and I'm going to let them attack. And we had talked about that as well. Barrett and JPP. And listen, Coach, you talked about Levante David covering Kelsey. He didn't let him do a thing.
Yep.
And, okay, yeah, he had 10 catches for 133 yards, but most of those catches and yards were
garbage time.
zone.
Yep, garbage. Yep.
Yeah, that's right, garbage
time. Yep.
That's right, garbage yards. And I mean, and Devin White, he was all over the place. He was literally faster. Aside from Tyreek Hill,
Mike, I got to interrupt you for 1 second.
Yeah.
You're getting a question from a Rob John saying, Mike, will you get a tattoo of the Bucs logo for the Super Bowl win?
Probably not. I don't have any tattoos. I'm in my 40s already. If I don't have a tattoo by 40, probably not.
Mike, getting back to the red zone, Coach Brislin saying KC was 24th in the NFL this year in the red zone, which makes sense if you think about it, because of all the deep passes to Hill, all the big plays. It makes sense that they were 24th in the NFL. So Tampa Bay stopping those big plays really messed up their game plan.
Mike, you know what? Oh, I'm sorry. I want to jump in real quick with Sis, because I know me and Sis talked about this off air. But it was kind of like, in my opinion, it was like a poker match, like a poker game, because it was kind of like Tampa Bay saying, "Hey, go ahead, run the ball, Kansas City," and you know what? They fell into that trap of we can't run the ball. Like, look, like you're saying, first series, not that they're going to run Mahomes a lot, but they still average 7 yards per carry, but they were giving it to him with that deep shell. And it's like Kansas City had to win their way, like trying to go deep, and they just fell into that trap. And I give Bowles all the credit. Sis, what do you got for Mike?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions for Big Mike. Coach, the first one. Do you think the Bucs defense, the entire defense, deserved the MVP trophy instead of Brady?
I mean, you can make that argument, and if that did happen, I wouldn't fight that. Tom Brady played great. He threw 3 touchdown passes. He was very efficient in the pass game. He could have had 4 touchdowns if the lineman held on to that one, which was a tough catch because the defender made a nice play. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's Tom Brady, and it's his 10th Super Bowl, and he's been the MVP I think 4 or 5 times before. So
I agree, Coach.
But that's a very good point, though.
Your thoughts on Todd Bowles? Should he be a head coach?
I tell you what, he did a tremendous job, and wherever he's been, he's always been a great defensive coordinator. I'm a big proponent in second chances. Okay, things didn't work out with the Jets,
right?
But I mean, it's clear the man knows football, right? And you do grow and learn from the first time you do something. So I'm sure he gained a lot of knowledge and experience as a first-time head coach with New York. So Absolutely. I mean, I'm glad he's staying that right now. So
okay, I'm sure you are. Your thoughts on Gronk's performance, and I have to tip my hat to Mr. Valenti, because what did I tell you last week?
No, I know. You were all over the Gronk with the big game.
Gronkowski.
You were.
So I thought it was vintage Gronk. I mean, he was, what do you have, like 5 catches for 42 yards in the first half? I mean, so he's on pace for 80-something. The 2 touchdowns, he looked like his old self. And that first touchdown he scored on was a nice RPO. Sorensen got caught up reading the run guy, and he leaked out to the flat because they thought they were going to run that split zone where Gronk comes back across the formation. And instead of blocking at the end, he just went right to the flat. Kansas City didn't have any forced defender there. They just cleared out with the receiver, and Evans sort of ran like a run.
I was just amazed the way they shut down Kelsey and Hill. I was totally shocked the way they ate that up. My last question, big guy, for you tonight. Will Tampa Bay repeat next year?
Sis is stealing all my questions, Kenny, tonight.
Sorry.
I'm going to ask Mike the hard questions.
So can they repeat? I say yes. Okay. Granted, they have a lot of guys that are going to be free agents, correct? Yes. So Godwin's going to be a free agent. He's only 24. I think you franchise him.
Yep.
Shaq Barrett's going to be a free agent. He's like 28 years old. I think you got to sign him to a nice contract because, I mean, if you look at it, quarterbacks are the highest paid. Edge rushers are the second highest paid.
Right.
And then your left tackles are the third highest paid. So Shaq Barrett in 2 years has clearly shown he's an upper echelon edge rusher. You got to sign him.
No doubt.
Then you got, Sue's a free agent and David's a free agent. Levante David's 31 years old.
Listen, we're coming hot and heavy, Mike, for David. I'm telling you right now. My Broncos, that's the talk all week on Bronco radios. They're coming hot because we don't have anybody who can cover as a linebacker. And we got Kelsey in our division, and we're going to have a little money, and we're coming for David. So you're going to be paying
I could see him leaving, and then Sue's a free agent. And I'm not saying he's easily replaceable, but he could be replaced. And Vita V, who we didn't talk about, he came back and was playing in his. I mean, he was a big factor. He's pretty good. So I think they can. Yes, granted, I think the Rams got better. I think the Packers are still going to be there. Listen, San Francisco, they had a lot of injuries this past year. If they figure out what they want to do at quarterback and they get healthy, There's no reason why San Francisco can't come back. So Tampa Bay is going to have their hands full. But, as a fan and just also thinking logically, I think they can repeat.
Yeah.
And listen, and you got Tom Brady, right? I mean,
yeah.
Come on.
I'm going to ask 2 questions. Just not. Hey, you won, Mike. You won the Super Bowl, and I'm just doing. This is not a defending your Buccaneers. This is me asking the question as maybe a Chiefs fan or another fan. I'm a Giants fan, so I'm not a Chiefs fan off the record. First question I got is, I hear a lot of things about the officiating in the game. I know there was questionable calls, this and that. Do you think that the officiating, what were your thoughts on the officiating, one? And do you agree with all the penalties that were called in the game? Do you like that? Did that affect the game in a way, all the penalties called? Because people are talking, and I just wanted your thoughts on it as a Bucs fan.
It's a really good question, right? So you have to look back to the NFC Championship game. And when they played Green Bay, you can make the argument that the refs weren't even on the field because it was literally anything goes. So I'm just speculating here, but I'm willing to bet that the powers that be said something to the officials about that game. So therefore, now it's in the back of their minds. And on the biggest stage, they're probably going to, do their job a little bit more. So I think they were thinking about that, about what was said to them. And listen, if you look at a lot of those penalties, Kansas City committed almost all those penalties. So there was really nothing to complain about on their end. Some of them were bigger than others, like the one right before the half against Evans. That was a big pass interference. Now, was it uncatchable? You can't say 100% that he wasn't going to catch that. He's 6'5". He has a 40-inch vertical. He may be able to lay out and get that if he's not tripped up by the DB. Tyrann Mathieu had a couple questionable ones. Maybe they weren't pass interference, but there was definitely some illegal contact going on there. So Kansas City kind of did it to themselves, lining up off sides. I mean, come on, really? You're going to line up off sides?
Yep.
And there were other things that were kind of let go. I mean, in that second half, Gronk was quiet because Tyrann Mathieu was all over him. And there could have been flags thrown in the second half on Mathieu that weren't.
Uh-huh.
And then, listen, Kansas City, if you watch that game, and obviously we did, right? Their tackles, because they knew that they were at a disadvantage, were actually off the line of scrimmage. So the rules say you have to have 7 on the line of scrimmage. You can have as many as you want, but you have to have minimum 7. Those guys were cheated off. So there wasn't always 7 guys on the line of scrimmage.
I was going to say, Mike, too, if you look at that, Mahomes is running for his life. I mean, they honestly, probably 3 out of every 4 plays, they probably could have called an offensive holding. I mean, those guys were just reaching. They had no shot of blocking them. So, they're pulling on Barrett and JPP the whole game. So,
yes,
I mean, it could have been worse, is what my opinion. It could have been worse on Kansas City. But
100%. I mean, and Todd Bowles, I think he blitzed less than 9% of the time.
Yeah.
So,
That's
and
right.
Mahomes was pressured over 50%. So, just think about that with only those 4 guys going. So they're going to try and do anything to stop him.
Yeah.
They're going to hold, they're going to grab, they're going to trip. So, listen, as a Kansas City fan, I understand how they could be upset. But as a Buccaneer, and just if I was a non-Buccaneer fan, they did a lot of that to themselves. So there's really nothing to complain about.
Real quick, Kenny, this is for you because Bobby Blackjack's saying he's glad to see Kurt wearing orange to support the Bucs. No. I'm congratulating the Bucs. I'm not supporting no Bucs. No. I'm supporting my, who. But congratulations.
I have some orange here. You know what? Here,
Come on.
I got my support right
There you go. Well, Mike, I got a question for
Thanks
Mike.
to Kurt. Thanks to Kurt, I got the little for Christmas. He gave me the helmet.
There you go.
Nice. Impressive.
Mike, real quick,
I got one more question from Mike.
Okay, go ahead, Kenny. I'm sorry.
Because this, I'm asking him the hard questions, and this one I'm going to ask him if he was the general manager or front office of the Bucs. Brady's contract ends next year, 43 years old. Who knows? He may decide. I know he's talking that he wants to play to 50, but come on, reality is going to hit soon. What do the Bucs do? And this is just me playing, general manager role here. What if you were the general manager? What do you do at quarterback next year, knowing that Brady is contracts up and he may not come back in 2022? Do you look in the draft for a quarterback? Do you look to trade for a quarterback or sign a free agent quarterback, or just roll with Brady this year and wait till 2022?
Great question. The first thing I would do is I would sit down with Tom and have a conversation and see where his mindset is. As far as performance goes, listen, he's playing at the top of his game. So if he wanted to get another year extension onto next year, I would be willing to do that without a doubt. But at the same time, he is 43 years old. And let's say he has a great season at 44, and then we have another contract under for 45. You still, as a GM, you have to think about the future. So if you look at not this draft coming up, but the following draft, there's no quarterbacks. There's really no quarterbacks in that draft. So I'm not telling you to trade up to get one of these big guys, because that wouldn't make sense either. However, there are some quarterbacks in this draft that you have the conversation with Brady and say, look, this is what we're thinking. We know that you're not going to play forever. We know that in 2 years, that draft class is pretty barren as far as quarterback goes. So we may draft a quarterback this draft, and just give him a heads up. Just have communication and dialogue, because it's clear that Green Bay never had conversations with Aaron Rodgers about not taking a receiver, and now they draft the kid Love, and then you got all this friction. And okay, it worked out. Aaron Rodgers played a kind of an angry game this year, and it was a little bit of a revenge tour.
But just a stupid move by them. It's like, you're right. Just talk to the guy like you're saying. Like, don't blindside Brady. You're being honest. Hey, Tom, listen, we're not pushing you out, but like you're saying, I mean, do you plan on one more? Because if you do, we're just going to have to, we're not going to get the number 32 pick, but, we might, which is fine. I mean, I don't think he was have a problem with it either.
Well, I don't think so either, because also Blaine Gabbert, who's the backup, he's a free agent. And the third string quarterback, Ryan Griffin, he's a free agent.
They got to do something.
So, I mean, something has to happen.
My opinion, Mike, I think this is just my opinion on the way I think the Bucs would go, and I'd like your thoughts on it. A guy who struggled right here in, I'm not there anymore, but right where you guys are in New Jersey, Sam Darnold. Maybe he would benefit from being a backup quarterback one year. He's still young. You get him on the cheap and see if he's got anything to offer. And you never know. You might have a quarterback for the future who was drafted really high. He just might fit in New York. We know baseball. We say it all the time. Baseball players can't play in New York. The pressure. Well, it's there in basketball, and it's there in football too, fellas. And maybe Darnold just can't handle the big media in New York. I mean, he hasn't had a supporting cast neither. You put Darnold with the offensive guys in Tampa Bay, and you might have something.
I'll tell you what, I like that idea. And personally, as a GM, obviously I'm not a GM, right? But I think as a GM, I think you have to look into that. I think you have to do anything and everything possible to try and make your team better. You give a call to the Jets, and you have dialogue, and see if maybe there is something that you can do. Maybe there isn't, maybe there is, but I think you obviously keep that under wraps so it doesn't get out in the media. But I think you should do that as the GM. Absolutely, 100%.
Kenny, we're getting a couple of comments from John Beelan saying no quarterbacks in 23. He's saying the 2023 class is pretty good. He likes the kid Stroud, the kid from Clemson, if he comes out, and Gunno. So it's,
I like the kid Penix, but I don't know how he's going to be from this injury.
Yeah. Mike, I got one more for you, Mike, because Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl. What was the first Super Bowl they won? What number was that when they beat the Raiders?
That was 37, I think, maybe?
37, okay.
I think.
That one, you sweated that one out a little bit, right? That was a little sweat. Wasn't this one, because I remember.
Not really. That was a blowout, to be honest with you.
Was it a blowout? Okay, yeah, it was. Okay, so you've never been in a tight Super Bowl.
They crushed the Raiders. That was embarrassing.
That's right. You don't know what it really feels like. Like me and Kenny and Sis, we've been in there. Like I remember Super Bowl 50 and number 32. I mean, it's like, oh my God, what's going on? But 33 was like, I was thinking about like being a Tampa Bay fan Sunday night. You could start looking up, okay, what hoodie am I going to buy in the fourth quarter? That, you could start ordering your stuff ready because it's done. That's nice. That's nice having a Super Bowl like that.
You know what's funny? I was still on the edge of my seat. I guess maybe because it was Patrick Mahomes, and I just knew. I figured at some point, like he would just start.
When were you when were you like it's done? When were you like it's over?
So that's a good question. I mean, there were some big plays in that game, like AB's touchdown right before the half. That was a big play because now you're up 21-6 going into the half. But the game's not over, in my opinion, because you got Pat Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
So then Kansas City comes out, they go down the field, and they score points, and they kick the field goal. So now it's 21-9. They're right back in the game. But Tampa Bay then has an answer-back drive where they now score a touchdown. Leonard Fournette gets a 27-yard run. He's untouched. I think that's a huge momentum swing. And then you couple that with the very next drive for Kansas City, and they pick off Pat Mahomes. I think that right there, as soon as that happened, it's lights out. It's lights out. And then towards the end of the third quarter, after that long drive, they actually do pick him off for a second time. It's it. And so you're right. The fourth quarter, I really wasn't worried, but I would say right until the end of the third on that second interception, I was like, it's kind of sitting on the edge of my seat for the first three.
Sis and I got the best comment of the night from Bobby Blackjack.
I skipped that comment, Kenny.
Crushing the Broncos. I didn't know if Kurt would. And remember, I said crushing the Broncos, beat the Orange Crush. I don't know if Kurt wanted to read that one out loud.
No, I'm going to skip that comment. I'll skip that one. By the way,
is it I was going to say 98 and 99, I think it was, right, for Denver, or 97, 98?
97, 98. Long time coming, Mike. Lot of stressful nights, Mike, before that. I can tell you that.
John Elway, man, finally, yeah.
I could tell you that.
I feel you.
By the way, Lynn Marie, Kenny saying, good evening, gentlemen. Great show. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Sis, anything else for Mike?
No, I said this to him before, and I think, again, anybody that watched the game, you had asked the question when I thought it was over. When I saw Mahomes start limping in the third quarter, number one, and then number two, just the way Todd Bowles drew it up. I mean, Hicks and Kelsey, they're two great players, man. I mean, he completely shut them down, man. So, I don't think that Kansas City made very good adjustments on either side of the ball. And again, Mike, congratulations, man. You guys definitely deserve to win that game.
By the way, Kenny, before you talk, Kip, our guy Kip is saying crushing AFC.
Technical difficulties with Mr. Valenti. I don't know.
He's in the freezer.
Oh, go ahead.
Are you there, Kurt?
I hear you. See me?
No, we see
it's
you.
Frozen now, but go ahead. We hear you.
Okay. Go ahead, Kenny. I was saying anything else for Mike?
Yeah, real quick, Mike.
Yeah.
A stat that just a stat that I was listening. Not a stat. I was listening to a podcast, and Kansas City was the top ratings. Top ratings for the Super Bowl was Kansas City. Tampa Bay was third. Second, believe it or not, was Boston.
Oh, wow.
They were following the Bucs. But yeah, the last thing I had, Mike, we got to start a petition to bring back those creamsicles, because if Tampa Bay wants to be number 2, all they got to do is bring back those creamsicle uniforms, and they will get a huge gathering in fans.
I agree. Most of my gear is the old school creamsicle. So,
oh boy.
Kurt, are you with us?
I'm with you. You hear me?
Okay, yep.
I don't
Mike,
know.
we hear you. Congrats again. We appreciate it coming on with us again. And like I said, anytime you want to come on to a basketball, baseball in the future, we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike,
I appreciate it.
Anytime you want to talk, please come on, talk about anything you want.
Awesome.
We got the Chiefs guy coming on next. Kurt's having the Sis and Kenny syndrome here. We're usually the ones with the problems on our
I'm actually going to switch my camera view.
But yeah, Mike, appreciate it. And
now
we'll
do you
talk
guys
to you
see
soon.
me now?
I'm going to have to take control here. This might get scary.
Oh, boy.
Well, listen,
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Thanks. I appreciate it. It's always a good time.
All right, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
All right, gentlemen.
Thanks, Mike.
See you guys later.
Kenny, do you hear me?
I'm going to run
with a blue K.
Jim. while you're having your difficulties. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Okay, as long as you can hear me.
Jim.
There's a blue K on the screen.
What's up, Jimbo?
Jim does not look happy, guys.
Hey,
Jim does not look
Jim,
happy.
Real quick, Jim, I got to give you a laugh. Look who's having problems with the.
It's hysterical. It's hysterical. You know what? You guys just interrupted me. I'm watching this. What's it called? The Super Bowl. It's on the NFL Network. Chiefs are playing the Buccaneers. Yeah.
We had to get Mike in first, Jim. You know.
No, I understand. Hey, last year was my year. This year, you know what?
Hats off to them, of course.
Just wasn't.
I know one thing, and I know Sis is going to tell us a story, but you know, condolences to the Schottenheimer family. Marty Schottenheimer passing away.
Yeah, Marty's always a good dude. You know
Jim,
what?
I wanted Sis to save this story from when you came on, so I'm going to have Sis share a story with us about Marty Schottenheimer. Go ahead, Sis.
Cool, fire away, man.
I guess it was the second day at camp, and we're in the defensive room going over some stuff. So the scout team running back, whatever. Schottenheimer says to me, Sis, he said, this kid runs like 4 or 5. So when you see him line up to the right on your side, back up about 5-6 feet, give yourself some room so you can stay with him. I said, okay, coach. So get on the field. 2 series later, the kid comes out, and I'm like, okay, I got this dude covered like a blanket. He beats me by about 5 steps, and thank God the quarterback, I forgot who it was, he threw the ball about 6 feet over his head, and I went like this. Thank God that happened. But what a great guy, man. I mean, he wanted to send me up into the Canadian League, and when he cut me, he said, Sis, it's a numbers game. He said, it's not that you're not good enough. I said, yeah, I get it. I went to a small college and, whatever. But God rest his soul, man. He was a good dude. He was a real good person. Yep. Thanks, Kenny. Yep.
Yeah, he was a guy.
I thought Jim would want to hear that story.
No, that's cool, man. You know what? And you could see like his relationship with he was the only guy to get through to Derrick Thomas.
Yes.
Derrick Thomas, he would listen to him like a father. So, yeah, you know what? And we always say this when people pass, what's the first thing you think of when you think of that person? You know what? And, you've seen it throughout the football world, and, nothing but great things about Marty Schottenheimer. Class guy. You know what we always say to people, how do you want to be remembered? We say it to kids in school all the time, how do you want to be remembered? Marty Schottenheimer, good man, good football guy, good family man, good for him.
Absolutely.
He dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's.
Mm-hmm. Are you with us? Yeah, we hear you.
Lente is all over the place tonight.
So I don't know what I know.
Oh,
all right, Kurt, I'm going to take over. Why don't you fix what you got to fix? I'll ask Jim the question first. Your thoughts on the game, Jim? I know we got to ask the hard questions tonight.
You know what? Listening, congratulations. And first of all, I love the fact that the gentleman before me was wearing the creamsicles, and that's when you know he's a real fan. You know what? As far as the game, you know what? I'm not going to make excuses. You know what? I've listened to enough. I've watched enough of what's going on. Hell, I saw the game. When did it change? Well, you know what? It changed with all those penalties, the momentum. It changed when we had to take Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of the game because he couldn't block. And they had to put Darrell Williams in to help block the pass rush. So that took an extra, receiver out of the game. So it was a combination of, I think, our offensive line. I mean, I saw a stat the other day, which that next-gen stats, Mahomes ran 479 extra yards during scrambling. That's almost 500 yards he ran. He wasn't scrambling. He was fleeing for his life. The poor kid, he was beaten. And I'll just throw this out there. I mean, all year, Kenny, in all of our shows, we talk about quarterbacks and how good they are and this, and that, and everything else, and weapons. And I know Coach Brislin said it. I've heard Sis say it. If you don't have time to throw the ball, you could be Jesus Christ himself standing back there. When you don't have time to throw the ball, it's not going to work. You have all the weapons in the world. The minute he felt the ball, he was under duress. And It didn't matter who he was back there. He just didn't have time to complete passes. We knew our offensive line was beat up. I mean, hell, we rehashed the thing. Tardif, gone. Kesey Okemley, gone. Schwartz, gone. Our whole offensive line. You know what? The other big dude we drafted, you know, and then Fisher blowing out his ankle and then having to move everybody around. It just didn't look cohesive from the first snap, and it wasn't. And you're playing a good defense like Tampa. Yeah, you know, I credit Tampa, you know, for what they did. But, you know, once again, you know, if you're asking me from my side of the ball, we didn't get our job done.
Yes, I'm going to ask Jim one more hard question, and then I'll let you, and then if Kurt's around, he can go real quick before we get into a little, you know.
I like how you break your questions up hard and easy. I like that, Kenny.
So do you think with Andy Reid's son, they just let him go, by the way, do you think that had a big effect on the discipline of the team? Like, you could see the team was not like, they definitely didn't look like themselves, not because of the score, but in general, the defense was all over the place, penalty after penalty. You know, they didn't look very disciplined on defense.
No, they didn't. And to answer your question, I'm not going to hang anything on that. I mean, he was an outside linebacker coach. You know what? I don't think it had that much of an effect. When you see that second quarter was a travesty. I mean, you know, and then I know I was talking to Kurt. I said it was really hard to imagine that, you know, Tampa could go the whole first half and not have a penalty. How could Tyreek Hill knock it off the line of scrimmage? I mean, you know what? There was a couple ticky-tack fouls. And just when I thought it was, people were texting me who were football guys going, wow, this is really, you know, kind of weird. I'm like, all right, yeah, you know, hopefully, you know, those things always seem to balance out there in the game. But I would never use that as a total. But was it a big momentum changer? Sure. Lining off sides, that's our fault. You know, but a couple of those pass interference things and, you know, the Chris Jones, the guy throws a swat at him. He throws a swat back, and then he gets a 15-yarder. Brady chasing Mathieu down the field, yelling at him. And then so there was just a lot of things. But, you know, the bottom line, we didn't get the job done. You know, we did not get the job done when we needed to. And the Mahomes kid, you could tell after the first quarter that turf toe was bothering him. He supposedly had surgery on it today.
Right, I heard that. Yep.
But
Kurt, are you there?
I'm here. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, perfectly clear.
All right. So my only question, and again, me and Jim talked off the air on Monday morning. I made sure Jim was okay before I talked to him.
Thanks for checking in.
You know, I asked him, you know, how many, you know, how was the TV? I wanted to check just a couple different things. Let me just see if I can actually come back in here.
There you are.
All right.
There he is. The ultimate close-up right
now. No, now you should see me.
How many cameras does this guy have?
Am I back?
To tell you what.
So here's my question. Do you think, and by the way, Donald Cooper saying Mahomes did throw a few Hail Marys. Dawn, and then one more comment I didn't see before. Dawn Snyder was saying Mike thinks like a winning NFL coach. So just throwing out a prop to Mike. But my point is, we were saying how, like, I called it a poker game, you know, where basically Bowles said, you know what? I'm not giving up the big play. I'm going to make you run, and I don't think you're going to run. And you know what? They didn't. Like Coach Brislin said, as a running back, not Mahomes, but just with the running backs, they were 9 for 62 or 9 for 63. So only 9 carries all day. What do you think of that?
You know what? We need more balance. It goes back to what I said earlier. You know, Clyde was healthy, but you know what? When we get pass happy, you know what? They had to put Darrell Williams in there to help block, and he's not he's a good runner, but he's not, you know, as good as Clyde is. You know, it took us out of our offense. We didn't convert. Our red zone was awful. Our third downs were usually pretty good as awful. But yeah, like I talked to you, I said they had a game plan, and they asked Mahomes after the game, Pat, was it anything that Tampa did or anything you saw that threw you off? He said, no, I didn't execute. We didn't execute. So, you know, it wasn't anything that he didn't see. It's just they didn't get the job done. You know, and I go back to a time like I'm watching the game now, getting the ball in his hands, and the minute it's in his hands, he's got to start running because 2 guys are coming around the edge or blowing up the middle, and I'm just watching the game over the top of the thing, the replay of it, and he's running for his life. And we talk about it all the time. You can't quarterback like that. Nope. I thought Andy would have tried to figure some stuff out, whether it was screens, short passes, but nothing seemed to work. Or, you know, and rightfully so. 3 of these guys will be backups next year. So,
I know you got a question or two for Jim.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Coach. because he's very knowledgeable. No, you really are. And I'm not just saying that because we're on the air. I want to know, in your opinion, and I know you're obviously a big Chiefs fan, were you shocked at the adjustments on both sides of the ball that they didn't make?
Sure, absolutely. When I saw that problem in the passing game all year, this was the first year like I've watched every Chief game, because of the package thing. And no team had a pass rush like this on them all year. Due to the fact of, I guess, switching guys. They didn't. No one really got that much pressure on consistently. Like, there was consistent pressure. It wasn't like one or two plays. Usually we're very good at making adjustments. I was happy, and I kept saying, during the game, anybody, I'm like, listen, you know what? We get the ball back in the second half. We go down, with that play at the end of the first half was big when it went from 14-6 to 21-6. And then, us not going down and scoring. If it was 14-6, we get the kickoff going down, Ed, I think we score there or do something, better than a field goal, it would work in our favor. But the fact that they scored, the offsides and stuff like that, and then they went in instead of a field goal, it's a touchdown. We just never recovered. I didn't have a good feeling after that time. I told Kirk that on Monday. I said it was just something about the game. It just didn't have a good flow. It didn't have a good feel.
Coach Brislin saying, how do you help that? Screens and short hitches. Agreed, Jim. Kenny, John Beelan saying, here we go. They were down almost 3 scores by halftime. You ain't running the ball. But here's the thing where I'll get into that, Jim, is and sis, you could agree or disagree. You're the coach, and Coach Breslin will come on. But like an NFL defense can take away, and it's not like high school where you're going to line up and say we're going to run power. We're going to run power right here and still gain 8 yards. In the pros, they're going to take that away. So going forward or whatever, listen, if they're going to turn around and say, listen, you are not throwing the deep ball and you are not going to Tyreek Hill, they could take that away. Now, they're going to give up other stuff. And what did they give up? Somebody was talking the other day. I think Coach Breslin was on here saying, but listen, if they run a little zone read or something with the quarterback, they're not going to be able to handle that. And look at the first 2 series. Mahomes had 30 yards rushing, scrambling. Why? They only have 7 guys, or even more. They're only going with 4. The other guys are in coverage. They have 4 deep, 5 deep. They're giving you that. They're just not taking it. They're still saying we're going to hit over the top. And it was a bad adjustment. You see teams, and I mentioned this the other day where, just like the Rams did with Belichick in the first time on Brady's Super Bowl. Same thing. Somebody was on the radio the other day saying all they had to do, Kurt Warner, was give the ball to Marshall Faulk 30 times. You win that game by 17 points. They didn't run the ball. Why? They got to throw, they're the greatest show on turf. We got to do this. And sometimes you just got to turn around and say, hey, you're going to take all that away? Here you go, Clyde Edwards. Here you go, Williams. I'll run Mahomes. And then eventually what they're going to do is say, listen, I can't keep giving up 6 and 6 and 7. I'm going to come up, and then you go over the top. So I disagreed.
Yeah.
They could have ran. They could have said, you want to take away the top? I'm going everything underneath, running game and underneath. I'm not even going to go over the top. So
well, you just stole my next question for Coach. I was going to ask Jim, why didn't they take advantage and run the ball?
You know what?
I don't get it.
I'm just watching right now is when the Chiefs had that goal line stand when they stopped them at the 1 yard line.
Right,
right. Tampa Bay's up 7-3. They tried punching it in from the 1 foot line and they didn't do it. I'm like, all right, that's what I thought it was going to turn around. Now I'm watching the replays here. A lot of hand checking. Tyreek's trying to get off the line of scrimmage. They're up in his face. They had a definite game plan about how they were going to, redo this.
Right.
What I see in the future for the Chiefs, I think once they get their line back to where they're going to reinvest in the running game.
I agree.
This year you know what, Kurt? We talked about, when Pat's first year, it was the 60, 70-yard bombs and all this stuff. But these playmakers turn those 15-yarders into those long passes. We didn't take a lot of shots over the top this year as much as we had in the past. They would take the shorter intermediate routes and just turn them into things. They would, use Tyreek to clear out an area to get Sammy Watkins or, Demarcus Robinson underneath or Kelsey. Yeah, Kelsey didn't look like he was playing there was something a little bit off with him too. I'm not quite sure what it was.
You said that he wasn't like that angriness. He wasn't.
Yeah, that fire that he needed. It just wasn't there. So, yeah. The thing that was, I don't know if our punter was awful. Talk about a kid having a schkans in his first Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He had a 27-yard punt, a 20-yard punt. He dropped one.
Yep.
I mean, and then I'm thinking this kid's got a hold for the field goal. So I'm like, Maron. I mean, big stage definitely got to him.
Jim, how amazing is Mahomes though? I mean, even for him to just not get sacked seriously 9 times in this game was amazing.
Yeah, he took a beating. Yeah,
took a beating, and he's throwing the ball on the money, rolling out. I mean, the guy's he's unbelievable. He's unbelievable.
You know what?
He threw the ball 35 yards in the air when he was elongated.
Yeah, he was sideways. And it hit the guy right
I
in
was
the
looking
face,
at the
too.
TV like, wow, this kid's phenomenal, man.
Yeah, you know what? He sure is. And I'm happy. Like I said, if you really look at it from and Ed, the history of the Chiefs. Like the last 3 years, we've been in a championship game. We were 6 inches from being in the Super Bowl. D Ford being offside against the Brady's, the Brady, and then last year winning the Super Bowl. This year being in it again. I have no complaints. I'm a happy person. You know what? I let myself be upset because they lost, but I'm watching this guy punt the ball. I can't watch this. Oh God!
You know what's going to happen. Change the channel, Jim. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you know what? Hey, you got to take the good with the bad, though. That's right.
So going forward, Jim, my last one for you. Going forward now, do you have to do anything? You just come back with the same cast of characters, or do you think they have to make a move?
I know. I think we're definitely going to They saw the O and D line. We have to bolster. I think the secondary has gotten better. I think when the kid that we got from the Giants broke his leg, he was starting to round himself into shape. He'll be ready by training camp next year. We got Thornhill. I think our secondary will be okay. We got to get a little bit strong on the offensive line. Chris Jones, you know what, needs to be more. He is a force there, but he needs company in there a little bit. He needs somebody else. They need to get the defensive line a little stronger. We're a little too porous against the run. Offensively, we need to get our offensive line. You know what? And one more receiver. I think our running backs are set. Our quarterback is set. I wouldn't be upset taking a young quarterback. You know what? Or if they're going to do it, because Henny's getting a little long in the tooth, so is Matt Moore. Let's get somebody in there so just in case something happens to Pat, we don't have to.
If I had to disagree on one thing you said, Jim, and it's not even disagreeing, you said the running backs are set. I agree with that, but if Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy use them. You got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who arguably, in my opinion, if they used him the proper way, could have been close to Rookie of the Year. That's how good this kid is. And after he got hurt, they didn't use him anymore.
See, now, Kenny, can I jump in?
Because Le'Veon Bell, who you went out and got Le'Veon Bell, and Le'Veon Bell is washed up, but you could have used Le'Veon Bell.
And next year,
Darrell Williams showed you something in the playoffs.
He did, and we get Damian Williams back
stepped away from it. Like he wasn't even mentioned, and I didn't even hear his name twice in the whole Super Bowl.
See now, Kenny, I'm telling you right now, and I'm this is my prediction. You could put this on air, Kenny. Okay, everyone's going to be down fantasy-wise on Clyde Edwards-Helaire next year. He was a first-round pick there this year. They're going to say he didn't do anything. He's going to go late second, third round. And I'm telling you right now, every time a Super Bowl team. Listen, they got punched in the mouth. They did. Okay, they did. So everybody's saying they're going to be flying. Listen, they're going to still be explosive, but next year they're going to, like Jim's saying, they're going to build that line and say we have to run the ball. Andy Reid's going to want to run that ball. Take Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm telling you, he'll be 1,300 yard back next year.
He's forgetting the other guy that's coming back next year, Damian Williams.
I'm just saying they're going to run the ball next year.
I agree. They need to. If they do that,
we talk about all-time balance. You know what? And once again, the passing game, we always.
It almost seems like coaches hold things back and just hope that they make it to the playoffs, and then they come out like Todd Bowles, the way they stopped. Coach Brislin was on. This is how you stop Mahomes, and Bowles did pretty much what Coach Breslin showed us.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to throw in tonight.
You're not going to beat me with the deep pass.
Nope.
The last thing I want to throw in tonight, and not making any excuses for Kansas City Chiefs or whatever, and this is just me as a parent and whatever. Nobody's going to tell me. Jim brought it up. Kelsey didn't look right. this one didn't look right. Nobody's going to tell me that accident didn't have a little bit of an effect on that entire organization. That's just my opinion.
You know what? And you, from when you say it from that perspective, you're right. I mean, they are very much like a family, the Kansas City organization.
Yes.
They are a class act, though. We'll give
Yeah,
them.
the Hunts do a nice job, and I think it goes top to bottom. You know, it is tough to say, you know, how much, you know, I wasn't thinking it from that perspective. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it had to be on his mind. But, hey, listen, you know what? We made it to the last game.
That's
you know, and, you know, it's good to see that, you know, it's good to see that even though, like, you know, we did lose the game, they went out there, they competed for the whole game, they did what they had to do. And like with everything else, you see warts, you know, and we talk about it all the time. The guy you were talking about, Todd Bowles, some guys are just meant to be coordinators.
Yep.
You know
Yes.
what? Let's, you know, on the other side of the ball, you know, Bieniemy wants to be a head coach, and we see what's happening to him. Spagnuolo wants to get in. Now, Spagnuolo, if the Chiefs win the game, did that make him smarter? Like, would Spagnuolo have got more interviews on Monday than any that he got? Like, does one game make or break a person? No, I think you have to look at the, you know, the guys said, do you believe in second chances? Yeah, 100%. But one game doesn't make or break somebody. I don't think Todd Bowles is any more of a genius, or I don't think he's less smart. Or one game, you come up with a game plan, only works if it works, it looks good, right, Kurt?
Yeah,
You know what?
and
If you
I
have a
agree.
game plan and
I
it-
agree with you 100%. There's nothing wrong with some guys just being a coordinator. You know, like, well, I don't understand why people are like, they degrade that. You know, like, he's a great defensive coordinator. I would never want Ted Bowles as a head coach. As a D coordinator, hell yeah, I would take him.
Vic
Right.
Fangio.
Vic Fangio, listen, great defensive coordinator. Head coach, I'm telling you, I listen every day. He's just, oh, you know, the offense does this, the offense. Like, you're the head coach. It's your offense, not the offense, your offense. You know, it's my defense. It's my defense. But that's how he says it. My defense, the offense. That's not a good head coach. As a D
Right.
coordinator, though, I'll tell you this, he's one of the best.
Hey, Sis knows it. You know it. Coach Breslin, who's always been on the show. When you're a head coach, you have to have trust in your coordinators, your assistant coaches. You have to be able to delineate to them what you want them to do, and then have trust in them that they're going to do it. You know what? How can you be a head coach and a coordinator? We talked about it. Is incredibly hard. But you've got to be able to look at your coaches and have trust in them that say, hey, listen, when the offense is on the field, this is what you're doing. Defensive coordinator, this is what you're doing. Of course, I've got to oversee everything. But, you know, the bottom line is you have to have trust in your coordinators, and you're only as good as they are in the game plan that they come up with. The game plan looks –
That is an excellent
Great point.
scenario you just brought up, because I'll tell you, all the places I ever coached, what you just said, and Kurt will attest to this, he was a secondary coach. We had that at Ramapo. Coach Breslin was the D coordinator. I was his assistant upstairs on the phone. Did he ask me for input? Yeah. Did he listen all the time? No. And I didn't get mad when he made a suggestion like, sis, am I blitzing too much? And I'd be like, no, coach, I think you should be blitzing more. And then he would make the decision on what to do. Now, Kurt just brought up a great point again, and I agree with it. He was a great offensive coordinator at St. Mary's. He was a great defensive backfield coach. You could ask him on the air. I never wanted to be a head coach. I was very happy being an assistant coach for 20 years. It's a different beast. It's a different animal.
Let me stop everybody for a second and ask Jim. Totally up to you, Jim. Do you want to hang out with us for a little bit till we're going to have Breslin on in a little bit, but Kurt's got a couple special guests coming on, authors. And I'd like to get back into the Chiefs after their little segment, after our little segment with them. If you have something to do, that's fine.
I do have to run because I do have a meeting I have to go to, but I appreciate, as always, the time to be able to talk about this. And I love the fact to talk to you guys about
this. Let's continue this. We'll get back into this, and we're going to get into the baseball stuff soon, which for sure we're going to work on that.
Yeah, 100%. Guys, I appreciate it. Great show as always. You know, you give everybody, you know, both the winning team and the losing team a platform to be able to go out and discuss it. I think that's awesome. Once again, have a great rest of the show. Good seeing everybody.
Pleasure talking to you.
As always. Be well, fellas. I'll talk to you soon. I got to run.
Take care.
All right, coach.
Guys, be good. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim.
You too.
Bye-bye.
You
Sis,
too.
by the way, Coach Brislin is saying Sis was great up top, very helpful. So he's giving you your props, Mr. Sis.
Thank you,
All right,
Coach.
Kurt, we're
President.
a couple minutes behind. I'll let Anthony know, and I'll let you introduce our guests.
Okay. What's up, Anthony?
Yeah, what's up? What's going on, Kurt?
I just want to introduce two friends here, but I'm going to introduce one first that we've known, grew up with them, Anthony Gangi, author of Inmate Manipulation and also host of Tier Talk. And he also brought, I don't want to say the name wrong, Connie, so it's Connie. Can you say the last name?
Sure, Aline.
Aline.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming on, Connie.
Author
Sure.
of The Cage Was Her Cocoon. Guys, thank you very much for coming on tonight. We're going to get off the sports topic for a little bit, for a couple minutes. But I know Anthony came on. He goes, yeah, but what if we don't talk about sports? I said, no, I'm not talking about sports. We're going to talk about you guys. Listen, we feel like celebrities now. You guys are on here. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh my!
this is great, man. This is great. So, Anthony, if you can
No
go
way.
first and just explain what your book is about, what made you write the book, and what you do and stuff like that. If you could just go over that a little bit.
Well, first off, I just want to say, Kurt, thanks for having us on. I want guys to know when I was in high school, I was a freshman when Kurt was a senior, and he really was just someone I could look up to. I mean, not because he was just great at sports. I mean, this is great. You're doing your passion, but you're just a good person.
Thank you.
I mean, you were a good person to me when I was in high school. And obviously you're doing something that you love. And I really hope this, it gets to be where you want it to be, because you truly deserve all the happiness in this world.
Thank you. Man. Thank you.
It's true, Kurt. So I'm sorry. I'm emotional. What was the question again?
Just like if you could just go over what the book is about, what made you write the book, and just and what you do for a living, and just what gave you the passion to write the book.
Okay, so in the course of 18 years, I've been in corrections. Started as an officer, worked my way up to sergeant, and then eventually I'm on the administrative side. Right now, I facilitate most of the programs inside the facility. But I love the roots of corrections. I'm an advocate for the front line. So is Connie, as she'll explain. And basically what motivated me, same thing that motivated me with Tier Talk, is that I think a lot of people don't understand what it's like to work in corrections, what it's like to work in a prison. They kind of go with the twist that the media puts on it. Now, it's not a perfect profession, but no profession is. But I feel that the good that happens behind the wall, it gets overlooked. Now, the book Inmate Manipulation was written because there's a gap in that. There's not a lot of training when it comes to officers kind of understanding the evolution of how games can, how inmates play their games, how they, kind of manipulate using like mind games or tricks to get staff to do stuff that they normally wouldn't do. And the funny thing is that even though the book is written in regards to the prison setting, it could pretty much be applied to life in general, because the techniques they use are persuasive techniques. All I did was apply the techniques to the prison setting. But again, it was just to kind of create something. So when I retire in 6 years, I feel that this book can hopefully make our facilities more safe and secured. So that was pretty much the goal behind it. And the one good thing about it is because it's such a needed topic, but not a lot of people write about it. It's landed me on a lot of TV shows like CNN, Fox News, just people that have an interest, but are maybe trying to find out a good source that they can go to. So definitely something that was motivated to hopefully do something good for the profession.
Awesome. And Connie, what about you? Pretty much the same question.
Sure. So, Connie Aline, I pretty much worked in corrections. I started in 2000 on Rikers Island, and I worked there for 10 years as a health services manager. And then I transitioned to Connecticut Department of Corrections as a health services administrator. So essentially, the driver for me was many of us who give our lives to corrections usually are trying to figure out what's next. And we don't think there's really much else we could do because, most of society puts us in this box. Like once you work in corrections, that's kind of what you do. And so, the purpose behind me writing the book was really so that people who are ready to transition out of corrections, they understand that their skills are transferable and that there are options available to them once they get out. So the book is kind of set with a backdrop of all that was learned behind the wall, and then kind of shows people that there are ways in order for you to transition out into the real world, into the world, as they call it in corrections, and still be productive and still have these meaningful lives outside of the prison setting.
Okay, Kenny, sis, anything for these guys?
Yeah, I just want to, obviously, we also have something a little in common. I'm not in corrections, but I work at a hospital down here in Maryland. Anthony, anytime we can have a Garfield person on, fellow Garfield person, 100% on board. Thank you for coming on, first of all, both of you. But I work in a hospital atmosphere. I'm great hospital I work for. And I watch a lot of the patients that the police officers bring in, the suicide watches, the people that are psych evaluations and the police bring in. And some of them do go to the jails. And thank you for all you do. I know how hard of an atmosphere it can be. If I, had any question, I guess, to learn about inside the system, and I'm going to read both your books, is how do you relate to the prisoners? Like, I'm sure there's some that relate to you as correction officers easier than others as an inmate. I'm sure, because me as a person watching the patients, sometimes they're angry with me, sometimes they're friendly with me. And how do you, work that relationship with your inmates? I guess you call them inmates, not patients.
Well, first, thank you for what you do. You're a frontline hero. So thank you for everything that you do. Connie, would you like to go first?
Sure. I mean, I can take it, since that, particularly when you have inmates who are in some sort of crisis, whether it's a medical or mental health crisis, you guys are really seeing them at their worst, and hopefully they get stabilized in the hospital and before they're brought into facility. But when they're brought into facility, they are generally angry and they've got, a ton of stuff that has to get worked through. Now, I think one of the things from a health services perspective is that these individuals are still human beings, right? So the ability to relate is, this is a human being going through a very tough situation. That doesn't take away the fact that we have to acknowledge they're there because they've committed some sort of crime. They've broken the law in some sort of way, shape, or form. And so it's finding that balance between what is the most appropriate engagement between you and that inmate, because you don't want to be manipulated. You don't want to be too overly, engaging when they may be in a very unstable or fragile mental state. So it really is a fine line of figuring out, like, how do I need to approach this inmate so that we all remain safe, but also so that the inmate is stable.
Yeah, and if I can add, working in the prison setting, you actually deal with the inmates a little bit longer. A lot of people may not realize the jail is under a year, or before they're sentenced. The prison gets them for a little bit longer term. So I believe that what a lot of people don't realize is that the custody staff, along with the other staff, don't get me wrong, but I think a lot of people picture custody staff as like these primitive Neanderthals that want to go in and just kind of fist the cuffs all day. And that's not the case. There's a lot of positive interactions out there where custody puts a level of expectation on these inmates. And there are a bulk of inmates that want to do that. They want to do good with their life. They want to make a difference. And they don't look at prison as a dead end, because they're given chances to change their lives and turn around, and they're put in an environment that they could take advantage of if that's something that they want to do. Now, of course, we do have some inmates that choose to take the opposite route. And at that point that's just a whole nother level of basically safety and security that has to be maintained in order to keep the facility operating. But this isn't corrections from like the 1960s or 1970s. The corrections of today's model is literally rehabilitation, because we know at the end these inmates are going to hit the community. And what we want them to do is we want them to have respect, first off for themselves, but also for the people that they're going to deal with, plus also levels of authority. I mean, most of them, to be honest with you guys, most of them never even had positive reinforcement. Most of the time when you deal with these inmates where they've had a history of negative reinforcement, and what I mean by that is, you got to go to prison to be accepted by the family. This is the culture they have. And then you come in and try to tell them, hey, this is all wrong. You got to go to school. You got to go to college. You got to do something with your life. You have to shift this whole perspective. But the best thing I've ever dealt with, and it really does matter, is when an inmate came up to me and said, "Hey, Gange, I just got my high school diploma," and you could see the smile on her face because this inmate was maybe in her 50s or 60s, but never thought it was possible because no one ever pushed her to that route or to that expectation. So I believe that there's a lot of positive work that goes behind the wall that doesn't get viewed, and a lot of lives that are changed because of the dedication of the staff that motivate through the right reasons.
Sis, anything for these guys?
Yeah, Anthony first, then I'll go to Connie. Anthony, your population in Northern State Prison is how many inmates?
I really can't talk specific about my job, guys, but I can tell you we're around 2,000, but that's public knowledge. You can get that from the website.
Yeah,
Okay.
There's a lot of just so you guys know, it's similar to the hospital, guys. A lot of HIPAA violations, just like patient confidentiality. I'm sure there's inmate confidentiality.
Yeah, like we could still keep the questions in general. I'm sure I'll be able to answer in a general format.
Can I ask this question, I guess?
Yeah.
How has the COVID situation affected you guys?
So we could do that in general because definitely corrections is all across the country is affected by COVID. So we could definitely answer that in general, 100%. Usually I go to Connie first because she's our medical person. So I know Connie likes to attack it, and I like to feed off of what Connie says. Connie's my lead. So Connie.
Okay. Connie.
So essentially, COVID has had the same impact that it's had out in the communities, right? I think our biggest challenge is that facilities are simply not established to really care for or to manage communicable diseases at the magnitude that this has. So, internal to corrections, we've always had universal precautions, masks, gloves, etc., just to keep everyone safe. And I feel that, in the space of COVID, we've kind of kicked it up quite a few notches because we've lost people. We've lost inmates, we lost coworkers, and we're doing our best, I think, to keep the facilities clean. But certainly there are those challenges because whether it's a dorm or whether it's, cells, the reality is that the inmates are in close proximity to each other. And, there is no one who can make them keep the masks on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All we can do is do our best to keep areas clean. We, really kicked it up as far as sanitary, conditions in facilities, and really just trying to make sure, like, if there is an issue we identify it early enough and quick enough in order to try to nip it in the bud so that we don't have contamination, like wildfire, which is a possibility because of the actual confinement space.
Guys, we're getting a comment in real fast from a Steve Maynard saying, awesome that you're doing this. So
that's my boy, Steve.
Yeah.
We know him.
There you go.
He's representing Guardian RFID. So a couple of things with the COVID too that I'd like to add is, first off, we follow the same guidelines that you would find anywhere. We're doing temperature checks. Obviously, Connie said making sure that areas are frequently clean, especially high touch areas like kiosks or phones or, stuff that the inmates have to share. If we do have inmates, just in general, this is not just from New Jersey, other states as well, that do test positive, they are going to be isolated from the rest of the population. I am going to use the word isolated at this point, but it doesn't mean that they're deprived of their privileges. They're just going to be isolated for their own safety and security, as well as for the population. Like Connie said, the concern would be the wildfire. Even if we have possible exposures, which could come most likely from staff, because staff has the ability to bring it in, then what's going to happen is they'll get quarantined and they'll be tested frequently to make sure that they're cleared. And if they're showing no symptoms and they're not positive, then they can go ahead and be released back to the population. You'll also see right now that a lot of the a lot of the frontline workers as well as the inmates are being offered COVID vaccines. Again, I know there was some debate as to whether it should go to the inmates or teachers or whatever it is. Well, the reason why I believe they're choosing the prison system is, of course, where, like Connie said, it's a very tight world. We can try our best to maintain some level of social distancing, but you have inmates that live in cells together that it's very hard for them to, wear their mask in their cell all day, and then don't forget too, guys, we have physical interactions with these inmates. Even just a regular walk down a corridor is going to require some level of holding on to the inmate and making sure for security reasons they get from point A to point B. But I will say this, guys, the concern is real, especially in the prison system. Across the country, we've lost a lot of inmates, a lot of staff. And the thing is, it's good that people can actually see that, the people that work behind the wall, the ones that were coming in during the COVID, the ones that couldn't work from home, the food service employees, the classification department, social service department. Because mind you, guys, when this happened, there was a want to release the inmates. Just in general, they want to see what they could do to get the inmates out as quick as possible. That means in order to protect the inmates, in order to get that done, we have to bring more staff in. We have to bring the different departments in, because you can't just release inmates and send them anywhere. You have to make sure they're properly placed. If they have medical and mental health concerns, you have to make sure those needs are met. You have to make sure that their file is good. They have no detainers. They have nothing that says they can't go directly out. So when they were trying to empty out the prisons, they're also bringing more people in to make sure that we're able to do that. But I will tell you something. It's definitely a concern that has hit our world pretty hard. And I just wish that the public could actually see what we do behind the wall to protect the inmates and then ourselves. And yes, guys, it is in that order: the inmates and ourselves from being COVID positive.
No, and again, I definitely want to thank both of you for what you guys do. Just like how you're saying, you're putting, others first before you. And you gave a shout out to Kenny before, and, we want to give a shout out to you guys. But now I want to put you guys on the spot a little bit, okay? You got about a minute each. But this is a sports show, right? So people here are going to listen to, we talk sports all the time. So in a couple of words each, Anthony, you could go first.
Oof.
No, quick. It's very quick. Why should why should Sis, why should Kenny or any of our fellow sports people who really don't know much about this, because I'm going to be honest, I don't know much about this, I don't. Why should we read your book? What would we get out of that book?
All right, so for my inmate manipulation book, sometimes we don't realize that we are actually being manipulated. So it's really, again, I use theories of persuasion that I was able to apply to the prison setting. But these same theories of persuasion can also be applied to your life when dealing with salesmen, when dealing with, maybe a loved one who wants you to see a movie that you necessarily don't want to see, and then you wonder why you're saying yes. So all because the book may be Inmate Manipulation Decoded, let's be honest, inmates aren't the only people that manipulate. So that's my so hopefully you guys enjoy the book.
Okay. Connie, and you?
For me, The Cage Was Her Cocoon really provides a 4-step guide for how can you break free of those mindsets that keep you feeling trapped, right? So even though here is a discussion about me and the cocoon being the prison system that I worked in, the reality is that anyone can use those 4 steps to get themselves shifting gears from where they're feeling trapped into a space where they can kind of freely move free and do what they need to do to have the type of life that they want to have.
Sure, I'm going to go off script real quick. I know you said 1 minute. I'm going to give Connie and Anthony a minute too. I got a couple rapid fire questions. These are meant to be fast. Kurt told me no sports. These are somewhat going to be related to sports. Maybe you'll see what I mean, but they're not no sports answers. I promise.
I don't know where he's going, Ant, so don't hold me to this. This is Kenny going off script.
These are meant to be fun and just quick, whatever's on, quick answers. I'll start with Anthony. Saturday night, this is for both of you. Saturday night, snowed in, you're home alone, watching TV. What are you putting on? Cops, America's Most Wanted, or Live PD?
I go first?
Yep.
America's Most Wanted.
Okay. And Connie?
I would say Cops.
Cops?
Really?
Quick story on Live PD. I live in Calvert County, Maryland. If you watched Live PD about a year ago, they were in our county filming over here for a little while. It was pretty. I got to meet a couple of the cameramen. They're not allowed to come in the hospital, but I met a couple of the cameramen outside the hospital.
That's pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. All right, second one. I'll start with Connie. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
I think I would travel to Dubai, and I really just would like to see the richness of the culture and everything that it has. The pictures always look beautiful, but I've never gone, so I'd love to see that up close and personal.
Okay, and Anthony?
For me, actually, I would love to go to Egypt and check out the pyramids.
Okay. Couple
I'd like
more
to see that.
quick ones I got for you. Anthony, favorite pizza topping?
Oh, favorite pizza topping? I like bacon, jalapeno, and meat, like a jalapeno bacon meat pizza.
Nice. And Connie?
Pepperoni and extra cheese.
Pepperoni. That I like that one. And then I'll ask one more. This one I know Kurt and Jen always ask on their high school show. Nike, Under Armour, or Adidas?
Who goes first?
I'll go with you, Anthony.
Under Armour.
Under Armour. And Connie?
Yeah, I would have to go with Under Armour. It keeps you warm all the time.
Okay, awesome. I had to get to a little rapid fire in there, Kurt. We do.
No, it was good.
You do. And all right, and now here's the most important question, Anthony. How do we get this book? Explain, where can the people go to get the book?
Yep.
Okay, so right now what you could do is you can go pretty much, if you put Inmate Manipulation Decoded, it's available right on Amazon. I believe the cost is $20. If you do want an autograph copy, I do charge $25. The reason why is I have to pay for shipping. So what I'll do is if you guys email me at gangianthony@yahoo.com, that's GANGI Anthony@yahoo.com, then I will go ahead and order the book, sign it, and then ship it to the address. Just make sure that when you PayPal me, you give me your address so I can send it to you.
Okay, awesome. And what about you, Connie?
So I'm exactly on Amazon.com, or you can go to www.thecagewashercocoon.com and order your copy. Whether you want an autographed copy or a regular copy, you can get them both right there.
Thank you. I'll be reaching out to both of you. I'd like a copy of both. I'll be finding you guys soon and ordering a couple books from you guys.
Awesome.
I'd be honored.
What about Tier Talk, Anthony? When's that on?
Okay, so that's a good. Okay, so Tier Talk is okay. So I would like to say we stick to a schedule. So Tier Talk on YouTube, we try to do a show. We definitely do a show every Tuesday and Thursdays. So you see me and Connie, working our angles out, covering. And by the way, it's not just always corrections. I mean, we talk about things that could affect anybody in the working profession, leadership, how to help the front line, just a lot of good positive dialogue that's very in-depth. But it's usually every Tuesday and Thursday. But once in a while, depending, we may do a few more throughout the week. So I would say anywhere from 2 to 4 episodes a week on YouTube, 100%. Anywhere from, I would like to say 20 minutes, but it's not. They're about 45 minutes, like yours, Kurt. We go
on until we finish.
We know how that goes. We're supposed to be 2 hours, 3.5 hours later, we're still on.
Whatever it is, as long as you're having fun, who cares, right?
Exactly.
I want to thank Anthony again. Thank you, Connie, for coming on. But Anthony, especially, you always follow the show. You share it. You always chime in once in a while, and we all appreciate you giving the show all the support.
Everything
we really
you guys are doing, and of course, stay safe out there. Not only in Inmate, but COVID and everything we're dealing with. So please stay safe out there, and love everything that you're doing with the books. And thank you again. Can't thank you enough.
I love you guys, man. Be
Thank
safe.
you.
Keep doing what you're doing,
Pleasure having
guys.
you both on.
We definitely
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Anytime you guys want to jump on, please jump on.
Absolutely.
Hey, Kurt, let us know. Kurt, you're at your. Just let us know. We'll be there.
You got it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Kenny. So I want to thank Anthony and Connie for that.
That was good. I lost Coach Brislin. If he's listening, I lost him in the waiting room. If he can jump back in, I'll get him right in.
Yeah, he said he's having a problem.
Okay. That was a great segment, Kurt.
Oh, great segment.
Great thanks to Anthony and Connie for joining us. And please go get their books. Support them. You support the frontline workers. You support the law enforcement. Please support them. Go get their books. And can't thank them enough for coming on.
No, and you know what? They are. Again, Anthony, we grew up, Garfield kid, and, you see him on Tier Talk, now he's writing a book. Connie, the same thing. It's just awesome for people that we know, They make it. They love what they do. You hear how passionate they both are. They talk about how us three are passionate about our show and stuff like that. But
Yep.
Bobby's saying you guys going to report that Brooklyn is up by 36 points, not right now. No, we're not going to report that because they'll probably blow that lead, but that's okay. Are they up by? They're up by 36.
Coach Breslin's having some issues, but I would like to get into one thing and say, all right, so the Nets are up 36. Okay, that was my broadcast on the Nets.
Yeah, there's our spot. Let's do
spot.
this.
I'm going to get into the Knicks while we're waiting for Coach Breslin.
Yeah, while Coach Breslin's coming on, Derrick Rose, sis, what's your thoughts? You like
Good
it?
pickup. Yeah, I do. I think it's a great pickup for him. Mm-hmm.
Kenny, what about you?
I think it's a great pickup. I'll make it short and sweet too. I think it's a great pickup. Veteran leadership. Played under Tibbs. Tibbs obviously wanted him. And you know what? Quickly can come off the bench still and quickly can move him over to shooting guard. And you're not putting, who's losing minutes? We found out Rivers lost minutes. Okay. Well, you know what? Next week, maybe Burks will lose a little minutes. Now you got another guy
options
that you can rest people. And I don't say that literally, like, this is a different year. I disagree with some of the people, they're not here to defend themselves, so I'm not going to say names on the air. But, we'll have them on to defend the people that don't like the move. You got to remember, you're in a COVID year. Who can't say next week that 3 of the point guards are going to be in quarantine? And then what do you, so you can never have enough of a position this year.
And think about this. The Knicks are the number 1 defense in the league. That's why they paid Thibodeau. That's why they got him as a coach. And listen, I love it. I absolutely love it. But they, offensively, Peyton is a good defensive player, but Peyton, listen, he can't shoot. He's a terrible offensive player like that. So like Sis said, what's wrong? You gave up Dennis Smith, who couldn't get time, and you gave up a second-round pick where we have about 9 in the next 3 drafts. Okay?
Yep.
And there's Coach Breslin.
Yeah, I bring him in case he's having difficulties again. We'll get back into the Knicks after Coach's segment.
I
Coach,
am having some difficulties. My other laptop is not working with the Zoom app, which is connected to my my document camera, so I apologize.
Coach, you need a patch right behind it. That'd look perfect if you had the patch right now.
Oh, exactly right. So I'll get rid of that for you. Let me see if I can get rid of that thing for you.
I'm not going to lie to you. When I saw the message that says the number's wrong, I went and I looked and said, is Sis texting me? And then it said, no, Coach Breslin. I got confused there. And I said, Coach Breslin, if Sis can get in, the numbers are right because
I agree with you.
Well, before Coach starts, I didn't tell Sis this story, Coach. Coach and I were on texting with Kurt back and forth this morning because Coach Breslin's helping us out with his company, DMK Apparel. We're going to be getting shirts, and I got K&K sweatshirt made from him a couple weeks ago. Awesome looking logo, awesome job. We're going to be getting a little spoiler. We're going to be going forward and getting shirts made. And the dark colors look really good, Sis. But the color that Coach Breslin and I told Kurt would look the best is white on white.
Yeah.
Kurt totally agreed with it. So just a plain white T-shirt would look best, as opposed to the dark logo with a white
would be nice, right?
First off, you guys got me hitting up early in the morning. Secondly, I was out of it from the Advil I was taking. So, but then I looked and said, but hey, you guys are right. Kenny said it's like the white out in Penn State. People wear white on white. Why not? I got a white on white Nike shirt. I do.
Exactly.
So
the little joke we had with Kurt today, Sis.
Oh, it was too funny. We were having a good old time.
So what do you got for us, Coach, tonight? What do you got going on?
How you guys doing? Well, first of all, like I said, I have a different computer, so I don't know if you're going to be able to see the whiteboard or not. So we can talk about it a little bit and just go over it.
Yeah, for those who may have not missed last week, we had Coach on last week with us on how to stop the Buccaneers defense. And rumors have it, and I think it's more than rumors, that Todd Bowles watched the show last week because they did exactly what Coach Breslin said they were going to.
Yes, he did.
How Todd Bowles stopped them. So we're under the impression that Todd Bowles watch the
He
show.
was on a Zoom, is what you're trying to
And
tell me.
I'm going to ask Todd Bowles. I'm inviting him to the show to join us, and then have Coach Brislin on to discuss.
Hey, let's get him on. Like I said to Sis last week, you know what? It's always great to talk football with people and have those conversations. And what was interesting is I looked at some of the stats, right? And you look at some of the stats, and the Bucs defense for this game, 86% of the time they were in some type of two shell. That's the most that they've been in 6 years with Todd Bowles as a Todd Bowles defense. So that was just amazing. Pressure without blitzing. I know Jim talked about it earlier, and I don't know if you can see the board or not with the camera things that I'm dealing with. But if you look, you have the two tackles, right?
Yeah.
Can you see it?
We could see it. Yeah, I could see it.
Yep.
So again, everything starts up front, right? So having these two guys having to move around and change and having Fisher out, that made a huge difference. So now you can pressure with only 4 guys. So from a defensive perspective, when you can only have to pressure with 4 guys, you can do so many other things in coverage. And the other thing that I thought was very important was keeping the ball inside, right? So we talked about Tyreek Hill, keeping everything inside the numbers. So for the most part, they were 10 of 22 outside the numbers. So they really struggled for only 50 yards. So that really tells you that they really took away Tyreek Hill and did a really good job. So, some of the things that I think I noticed what was going on, there was a couple things going on. One is they played Tampa 2, right? Tony Dungy, the whole Tampa 2. So they're going to play 2 deep coverage. They're going to play zone underneath. They're going to jam the heck out of Kelsey. Those 2 linebackers were very physical, and they jammed the heck out of him. Yes, he had 10 catches for 100 and something yards, but they weren't crushing, catches.
Nope.
Some of them were late.
Nope. Right.
But they had the ability to they were physical, right? They were very physical with him. And then what they also would do is they would match up. One of the things that we talk about, as a basketball term, is a matchup zone. So what they did in some situations, they were going to be physical with him, and then they were going to match up with him. So no matter where he was, they were trying very much to match up with him. He did a really good job in certain routes. One he slipped on, but there were some where he, would make a couple of different moves and get open. But for the most part, they were very, very physical with him in that Tampa 2 cover 2 defense.
Coach, and then I'll let Sis and Kurt go. If I can ask a question, going forward now, it's only one game, but do you think the Chiefs, in your opinion as a defensive coordinator and not just a football fan, do you think the Chiefs are going to have to make a lot of adjustments, or just the loss of Fisher and the offensive linemen really hurt them that much?
Well, I think that number one really hurt them. They had one guy who was a doctor, right? So he decided that he was going to opt out this year. So that was a big loss for them. Having Fisher hurt, now you're moving 2 to 3 guys who aren't comfortable now playing in a Super Bowl against an all-pro in JPP and now Barrett. So I don't think they have to make any wholesale changes. Once they get those guys back, I think what they do have to do, though, is they were one-dimensional. From a defensive standpoint, being one-dimensional is great. I can just tee off and I can go. Mm-hmm. So I think they have to really, really focus on having more of a balance in their offense. And I think if they do that, and look at what Brady did with play action and everything, how deadly is now Mahomes going to be if you can really run the football and then play action? Because now if you can run the football and you have to bring a safety down in the box to try to stop the run game, now you can play and you can throw the ball over the top.
You know what I was surprised they didn't do in the game, at least from what I saw? They didn't run the jet sweep a couple times. I thought they would have ran that a few times in the game with Hardman or Robinson.
They didn't run any screens. They didn't run any draws. They didn't run. There were certain times where these corners were 10 yards back. Obviously they played games. Sometimes they would jam, sometimes they're not. But you can't tell me if they're 10 yards off that you can't run a hitch
route,
and get that off in 3 seconds or less. just to give him a chance, because as soon as he dropped back, right, he was running for his life.
Yep.
So
I definitely agree with you, Coach. I thought the hitch or a jet sweep would have kept the defensive more honest and would have maybe started cheating the safety back over to the other side. But Sis, I know you probably definitely have a question or two for Coach.
Yeah, I just want to ask him his professional opinion again. Were you surprised that the non-adjustments that Kansas City made on both sides of the ball?
100%, Sis. They just never gave their guys any chance to be successful. It was, okay, this is what we do, and we're not going to make any adjustments. When you look at some of the film in some certain game, certain part of the game, these guys are dropping off. The safeties were 13 yards deep. Sometimes the corners were 10 yards deep, and they're still running deep routes to try to throw the ball over the top.
Right.
They weren't giving themselves any opportunities to be successful, I thought, in that game. And their adjustments were, I don't think they made many. So, and what they did, and I think they ran some two-man, right? They changed it up. They ran two-man. Right. They ran cover two. And then the other thing it looked like they were doing was, because there was one time where the backs were going out in the flat. So what it looked like was they were playing man split coverage. So they were playing man to this side. So he's going out. The linebacker's taking him. They're covering him man to man, and they have a safety over the top. Correct. And on this side of the field, they're playing zone coverage. So, between two-man, regular Tampa 2, and them playing some split coverage, they changed it up on them. And then they would play games with their front four. They would loop guys. They would end up moving guys so that you would have a nose and two tackles, and then they would bring a linebacker. So they were doing some different things up front too to make it more difficult on their front five. So absolutely.
Eric, I know you got something.
Coach, I got two quick ones for you. And you nailed it. And not just because we all know you're a great coach, but you nailed it with what Coach, you basically showed us last week what Tampa should do, and they did it. But game plan wise, what do you think Bowles, or even you as a defensive coordinator, if this was going to be your game plan going into the game, there had to be 2 or 3 things where you would go and say, listen, if they do this, if they adjust and do this, I got to get out of this defense. What's 2 or 3 things Kansas City could have done that you think would have got them out of that defense?
Well, I think early on in the game, in the first quarter, okay, and I know Brislin was talking about this a little bit, but they really didn't focus on running the ball. Nine rushes, other than, now let me ask you this question too in that regard. How much did Mahomes being hurt play a role? Because again, there were many times where it wasn't a zone read, but you saw him scramble because they're playing coverage and they're running with guys where he's free. But if you're running any kind of zone read scheme, you really have a hard time trying to cover that in what you're playing. So if they were going to run the ball early on, the game is, they're winning, right? 3-0 the first quarter.
Yeah.
Finally, Brady scores his first touchdown in the Super Bowl in the first quarter real late. But if you could run the ball a little bit to try to see if they're going to bring safeties down, but they really never established any type of run game whatsoever. I know I put in your comment, with the running back, I think he got 20 yards on the first carry in the second half was there, a big run. So 20 yards out of the 64 was on one run.
Right.
So, again, I still, right now, I think it was, Tony Romo was right on in many situations. Don't let Tyreek Hill beat you. And they did not. Let them run the ball. If you know what, run the ball, you're going to shorten the game.
Yep.
And you're going to have a chance. So, would I possibly change a little bit? But it would probably have to take a lot for me to change.
Right. It'd be like a poker. Like it's like you're not going to want to run the ball. Just go ahead. You run it. Because once I come down, that's when you're saying now you got him over the top, and Correct. It could be 60 in one play.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
I'd
rather make them go. I'd rather make them go 80 yards a little at a time.
And you know what was shocking is I was telling Kenny and I was telling Jim this. I want to say it was last year. I don't know if it was the that last year AFC Championship game or the divisional round where kind of the team did that. It might have been Tennessee where they kind of played that two deep shell, and Andy Reid just turned around and handed it off, and they were running the ball. They had 120 yards. So it was a little shocking of why, like, they just, like, in your opinion, why, like, did they just not run the ball? Like, why is it like we're going to beat them our way, over the top, big plays? Like, that's what they were looking for the whole game.
I agree.
Why?
Well, and in most situations from an offensive perspective, right, and you know this, right, you're going to count guys in the box, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So if there's 5 guys in the box, I'm running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right. That should be what you're going to do. Now, are you going to do that every single time? No, but you know what? In many situations, 5 guys in the box, I have 5 guys.
Your
plus
advantage,
now,
yeah.
You have numbers, right? Now with the quarterback being a runner, you have a lot more numbers.
Yep.
Total off of what a couple weeks ago, we started asking our questions on who's the best coach left in the playoffs, and everybody said Andy Reid, but I said no. I said Sean McDermott I would take over Andy Reid. I still feel Andy Reid's a little overrated. I think he didn't do his job when Mahomes got hurt, and they almost didn't have him for that playoff game, because you see now he's going in for surgery on a turf toe. You can't tell me the coaching staff didn't know that. So as a whole, from coaching staff all the way down to the punter and kicker, F on the game.
Yeah, their special teams were very poor right there. Their punter really struggled. He was struggling.
And Andy Reid's got to take a big blame for this. I'm sorry, I can't take the blame for how the players played, but his play calling. Bieniemy's got to take a big fall for this. That's why maybe he doesn't have a job. A head coaching job yet. It's things to think about. I personally, and I said it for weeks, I think Andy Reid's overrated a little bit. He's got the talent. He's got the best quarterback in football, arguably Mahomes. He's always had the offense, and now he got outcoached, and the whole team got outplayed in the Super Bowl, and it showed.
So, Coach, I'll get back to you. I got one more because Kenny mentioned it before about going forward. Like, what does Kansas City have to do? So I'll ask you as a defensive.
Well, that's where I was going to go with this.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kenny. I'm sorry.
Please take it. No, I'm saying I was going to go there, but that's good.
All right. So I guess I was going to say. So you saw they basically took Tyreek Hill away. And when I say, like you said, they could have ran little jet sweeps. They could have ran screens where they get the ball in his hands. But what he does best is get behind the defense. And they completely took that away. So, and I'm not going to talk on the high school level or even on college. Because, again, if Alabama's going to play a small school, Alabama could probably line up and say, we're going to run inside zone or we're going to run power. And we're going to get 6 yards a pop and they're not going to stop it. But on the NFL, it's a different level. You could completely Tyreek Hill's good, but if you're going to double cover him the whole game, he ain't going to have 10 for 260. It's not going to happen. You could take him away. So can a defense, like if you're a defensive coordinator next year, you're week 1 for whatever team, are you just playing that defense against him and see what they do?
Until they're going to do something different. Listen, as you guys know, it's a copycat league, right? And guys watch film all the time, and they're going to say, all right, this is what really hurt them. Well, until they make adjustments, I'm going to use this defense against them. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
And it can be done, though, too, in my opinion. Like, it can definitely, like, they could turn around and say, we're shutting down Tyreek Hill week 1. We're going to just take him out of the game. He's not, well, we're not taking, the jet sweep, they could put him in the backfield, they could do stuff, but the deep ball, they could take that right away from him.
Yeah.
Correct?
Well, remember that question you asked the last week about putting him in motion in the backfield and then bring him out? Okay. Well, they did that one time. Okay. And, there was nothing there, right? I think they ended up at that particular point, which is not a bad deal.
They swung it to him, right? He got like a yard or he lost a yard.
He lost the yard.
Him. Yeah.
But what did you notice? He's in the backfield check zone.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Because you don't have to cover him deep, check zone. So now you have all eyes on him. You're not running because, what's the Chiefs going to do? So that was one minor adjustment that they did, but it didn't work, right? Because now I'm going to sit there and say, okay, Tyreek Hill in the backfield, check zone. So now I can get all my eyes in the backfield. When I see him swing, I can run to the ball. And then somebody brought that up. One of the guys brought it up. They did a great job tackling. Okay, basic part of football, and they did a great job of all those guys, like we would talk about all the time, 11 hats to the football.
And my last thing for Coach before Sis and Kenny could finish is, so do you think Kansas City will change their philosophy a little? Do you think, because I think they're going to kind of look, because I think you look at a couple, when the Rams did it and the Rams got beat, the Rams became a little more physical. I know Denver was throw the ball all over the yard. Then all of a sudden, a year later, it's bring the fullback in. We're going to have to be physical now because they got punched in the mouth. They really did. They got beat up in the game. Or do you think they're just going to wing it and say, like Kenny said, we didn't have our left tackle, our guard's coming back, we move people around, we're still going to throw the ball all over the yard and be this kind of offense. We don't have to run the ball. Or do you think they're going to say, we're going to have to run the ball now? What do you think?
Something. Yeah, I think again, if they can get the doctor back, they get Fisher back, and they get them guys healthy, I think that they will try to be more balanced in their offense. I absolutely do. I think so. And again, I think just alone, right? If I'm an offensive tackle struggling, and JPP is just running up the field, well, there's an easy way to take advantage of that by just handing the ball inside of him and let him run up the field. They didn't even do that, to try to slow them down. Listen, I coached high school at the freshman level, and we couldn't block for anything. Screens were my favorite play. Because
you hit it on the nail.
Let him come. Right?
Exactly.
Nail on the head right there. I was going to say one screen pass would have kept that defense honest.
Yeah, you slow them down. Sure, absolutely. Yep. Give him a shot.
I blame the coaching, and that's why Bieniemy probably doesn't have a head coaching job, because these general managers, all these people that sit in the interviews, probably see how he wanted to run his offense and like, that's too one-dimensional for me.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a job, a head coaching job, that is. And I usually don't disagree with you, Coach, but I just don't see Andy Reid, respectfully disagree a little bit. I just don't see Andy Reid going to the run. He's never did. As the Eagles, they never did it with the Eagles. And he's got now the best quarterback in football, so he's just going to say, Mahomes, throw 50 times a game and get us 30 points.
That's fine, but now look at your franchise $50 million quarterback.
Oh, I know.
He's beaten up physically.
Okay. Right. No, Coach, what I was saying is I just don't see Andy Reid. I don't want to say not caring. That's the wrong word to use. But he allowed Bieniemy to call that play that Mahomes to run on a turf toe, which when he got hurt, you could clearly see the kid couldn't run. And he got slammed to the ground. And I truly believe that his thought philosophy, he'll throw the ball 40 or 50 times. I'm only going to be here another 3 or 4 years, and then I'm going to retire. And I'll let them deal with it in 3 or 4 years.
Right. Well, he threw the ball 49 times.
Yeah.
Crazy.
You're not winning like that.
No.
You get the pleasure of ending it with Coach Brislin. What do you want to wrap it up with? Sis, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I lost him.
You get the pleasure of wrapping up the segment with Coach Brislin. What do you want to wrap it up with?
Yeah, well,
give him some rapid fire questions. Give him some rapid fire.
I want to ask him this question because I think it's important. We're both parents, Coach, obviously. Do you think that, excuse me, his son with that car accident had any effect on that game?
I thought about that. Now I really did. I really thought hard about that. And the only thing I said to myself, and I was thinking about it, was it happened on Thursday.
Okay.
So preparation, a lot of the prep was already done, right? Walkthrough is on a Friday. So from a preparation standpoint, I would say probably not. From a mental standpoint, as a father, that your son is, there's a strong possibility that, there are going to be major repercussions that are going to happen because of this. I think that could have played some small role in maybe some decision-making or allowing him passing some of those decisions maybe onto somebody else.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But from a prep standpoint, they were already done with their preparation.
I got you. Okay.
I got one rapid fire for all you guys. It's a comment from Bobby Blackjack. I'm going to go Sis, Coach Breslin and Kenny. His comment is, never mind Bieniemy. Byron Leftwich just passed him up as a head coach candidate. True or false, sis?
I can't see that guy being a head coach. No, sorry.
Coach Breslin, Bieniemy, did Leftwich, because this game, did he outcoached him right now? Do you think if there's an open job next year, who you think would get the first look, Leftwich or still Bieniemy?
Well, I think it now allows him the opportunity to get more interviews, which could potentially, we'll have to see how he does in an interview process. Based on a lot of the information we're hearing, Bieniemy does not do a good job in the interview process. But I think it does allow him the opportunity to give him a better chance to have an interview to get that head coaching job. So I would say, there's a strong possibility that if both guys are going for the same job and he interviews better, then I would say yes.
And Kenny, what about you?
Tough. You got Bieniemy, who's got arguably the best quarterback in football today, in Mahomes, and you got Leftwich, who's got the best quarterback of all time, Brady. Leftwich couldn't do anything with Winston. But
He threw 40 touchdowns. I mean, he also threw 40 picks, but I mean, he had a good offense.
But no. If I had to pick one, I'm going to say Leftwich a little bit now because, he's got the Super Bowl under his belt and he's a quarterback. So he's going to have the quarterback mindset as opposed to Bieniemy. So I'll say more of an offensive minded coach and a leader. I'll go Leftwich.
Okay, my last question.
Small margin.
And my last one for Coach Breslin. I'm sorry, I'm asking 90 questions, but just popped in my head. Is there anything Tampa Bay did offensively that surprised you?
I don't think they did anything that surprised me. Again, having the ability to run the football gave them the opportunity to play action and really put the Kansas City Chiefs defense at a disadvantage. The one thing I did put in my comment box that surprised me was that on the goal line, why wasn't Fournette in the game? Jones is a guy who's a fast runner.
Right.
He's not the physical guy, and he got stood up on the 1 yard line. If all I kept thinking was Marshawn Lynch with the Seattle Seahawks at the same situation, right? You have a physical guy, you are on the 1 yard line, and why is he not getting the ball?
That and also Coach Brady usually sneaks the ball a lot on that 1 yard line, and they didn't do that neither. And Jones really boggled my mind in the game there on that fourth down.
So that would be one thing that surprised me in that game.
Great call and point.
But Coach Breslin, defense wins championships, baby.
That is true.
How could you not say it after this game? Seriously, how could you? I mean, listen, Brady's great. I know I get on Brady and I say that, but Brady's great. But that defense, I mean, you hold that team to 9 points. That's crazy. It really
That was
is.
a great job. Absolutely. And again, and we talk about this all the time, right? You have to have players. Okay. So you can put together the best plan in the world, but if you don't have guys who can play and execute, it really doesn't matter. And they have guys who can play.
And you know what?
I'm sorry, Kenny, go ahead.
I was saying nobody brought it up tonight. I truly believe it still was a home field advantage for the Bucs. You go on the road to Washington, and you have you go up against a good defensive team there, very similar to Tampa Bay's defense. Good front seven, good defense in the hole. Then you go to New Orleans, who crushed you 2 times, and you go beat them in the Dome. And what do you get rewarded with? You have to go to Green Bay and play in the cold weather up in Lambeau Field, and they did it. And then how do they get rewarded for 3 road games? They get to come home for the Super Bowl. That you'll never see probably again in the history as long as we're all around. But you're probably never going to see that again. That was history there. Giants did it as 3 road wins, but then they went and played on a neutral field. You're not going to see 3 road wins and then go play on your home stadium. I don't think ever again.
Being able to sleep in your own bed for 2 weeks before the Super Bowl and then, in your own locker room does play a big advantage.
Yep.
All right. Anything else for Coach?
Good. Appreciate you coming on as always. This is a great little segment we got.
Oh, it's bad that football's over. By the way, Coach, we can never.
Hey, it don't matter. We can still have Coach on and talk different things.
Oh, absolutely. But I was telling Jen this. I said we could never have Coach Brislin on our high school show doing this because we'd have about 400 views a night. Everyone would be stealing Coach's stuff, so we'd be like, no way. He has to do this on this show. Not the high school show. No way. No way.
All good.
They would want They would want tapes made.
Coach, thank you very much. Seriously, thank you.
Always. And we'll definitely be in touch with the
apologize for some of the issues I had with my
Farrell. We'll definitely get the ship rolling here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Coach, Sis said to call him afterwards. He's going to help fix your laptop issue.
Oh, perfect. Awesome.
Sis is going to take care of it.
Yeah.
Why
I don't know what's going on. I have to double check.
From Kurt, who had problems with his camera.
Yeah, me, Coach, what's the odds of this? Kenny and Sis, no problems. Me and you have problems tonight. I mean, seriously.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I don't get it. So now that's what I'm gonna work on it now and figure out why.
You guys better brush up on your technology.
Yeah, we do.
So.
We better get on our technology.
That's it. Sis, we're gonna hire you as a technician. What do you think?
No, wrong guy, Coach.
All right, Coach.
Thanks. We'll be in touch this weekend for sure.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thanks again for allowing me to be on your show. You guys have a good night, guys. Take it easy.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
This has turned into my new favorite segment, Kenny.
We're gonna have Coach on every week. I don't care. We'll do a little different thing each week with him.
Real quick, because we got a couple minutes left. We're not going to get into college basketball. We're going to talk college
Save
basketball
that for tomorrow.
But we got one question. We got one question from the audience, and I'm going to start with Sis because I know he's going to be. I put the little fire for the comments, but I know I'm waiting to hear his comments. Bobby Blackjack just asked, any thoughts on the Mavericks refusing to play the national anthem before the games until the NBA stopped in? This will be a top segment on the Knights table. What's your thoughts on Cuban saying he wasn't going to play the national anthem, Sis?
That's you know me. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I mean, what are we coming to? Really? I mean, it's out of control, man. It's out of control. I mean, I'm older than everybody on the show, obviously, but I remember you said the prayer in the classroom. You got up and saluted the flag. I mean, it's just, we're in rough shape as a country, man. We really are. It's sad.
Yep.
It's sad.
Kenny, what's your thoughts on
I agree with Sis, but I guess you could bring in hockey and baseball into the equation. Like, I'll use them as an example. You go and Toronto comes to play in New York. You'd always hear and I've been to a Yankee Blue Jays game. You'd hear the national anthem and you'd hear the Canadian national anthem. You play in Dallas, right? That's where your home games are, right? Dallas?
Yep.
You're in the United States, right?
Yep.
Play their national anthem. You don't want to stand, you want to kneel for the national anthem? That's your right. But for those fans that are listening to the game and watching the game, I know they're not there in person, but for those people that are watching the game, those people that are overseas defending our country, you need to play the national anthem. You're supposed to be our heroes during this COVID, and you're not going to play a national anthem. Why?
Right. I'll answer on this one, and I'll end it. I agree with both of you guys, and I definitely agree with what Sis says. It's an absolute disgrace that he was going to get there. You mentioned hockey, and there was the coach, John Tortorella. You see what he said? I don't care who you are. You don't stand for the national anthem, you're not playing. You could be my goalie. You could be my first team all NHL. You're not playing. What do the players do? They stand. You know what it's from? It's leadership. You mentioned, and Sis said about a classroom and this and that, but it's all about leadership. Mark Cuban, he's the top guy. You got your head coach Tortorella saying, you don't stand on my team, you're not playing. What? He could stop it, Cuban. He could stop it tomorrow.
You know the problem, though, with basketball? The players make too much money.
Right. But here's my next point. Kyrie Irving, not because Bobby's a Net fan, but This guy just turns around and says, I don't like what's going on in the world, so I'm not going to play for 3 weeks. What if a basketball player, in all seriousness, Kenny, what if a basketball player what if I was an NBA basketball player, and you guys are going to laugh, but I'm not even trying to be funny. I turn around and say, listen, I'm a diehard Chief fan. I can't play. They got beat. I can't play I'm off for 2 months. Can I just not play? Could Jim not go to work? Could Jim not go to school saying he's heartbroken the Chiefs lost?
The point I'm making.
What is that? But Kenny, the Nets could have stopped it. The Nets could have suspended him. They did nothing.
Well,
nothing.
Here's my point. Now, here's my point. They could have suspended him. And if they did suspend him, who cares? Still making $40 million a year. What's $3 million going to do?
Well, there it is right there.
Too much money for these people.
Don't give them a paycheck.
Don't even want to play.
Right, no paycheck, no paycheck. Nothing.
You'll see how fast they want to play.
Absolutely. I totally agree, sis. That's the whole part. This is the rule. This is what you're going to do. Just like we talk about Deshaun Watson. I don't want to be this, or you could shut up. You got one playoff win. He's won nothing.
This is a great topic that can go on for hours. I talked about this probably a year or two ago with you, Kurt, when the Durant things we were talking with our friend Briggsy, when you and Briggsy were doing the show. And it was the Myles Garrett situation when he hit Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
And I said that was an attack with a deadly weapon. I said, what you need to do is make an example of these guys.
Yep.
In their contracts, you need to do something where is if you get suspended by the league or, arrested or whatever, it's a breach of your contract. You're going to make league minimum. The rest of your contract is going to charities. And you watch how fast, and I will guarantee my yearly salary on this. If that ever came down, if they ever put that down in any of the sports, you would not see these you would not see these players doing what they're doing.
And my last thing, sis.
You tell one of these players you're going from 10 million to 100,000. You watch, there'll be angels.
You mentioned the best part, Kenny, because you said standing for the flag does what? Is really respecting who?
The people that are serving our country.
And
served our country.
So what I'm doing, and I was telling Jen this one night, what I'm doing is I'm packing my stadium, and I'm in a playoff game, sis, or I'm in an NBA game, and I'm putting vets, 90-year-old vets that are in now, people who served, and I'm going to stand them there. And I'm going to line them up. And you're going to take a knee with these vets standing there? Then I want to see how big and bad you are with those vets in your face.
Right.
Then stand and we'll see what you do.
Right.
But you know what they'll do? They'll be cowards and they won't do it. They won't do it. That's what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
But that's interesting. But you know what? The NBA stepped in and said you are playing the national anthem.
Good for the NBA.
They did the right thing.
Now one of these major sports needs to step in. Deshaun Watson wants to sit out. Well, you know what? Sit out. But next year, you sit out. This is where the NFL needs to step in, not the Houston Texans. You want to sit out? You want to sit out? Just go ahead, sit out. But when you sign a contract for $10 million for $40 million, well, you know what? 50% of that's going to charity.
No, you know what I'm doing? I'm even going to one up you. You know what I'm going to do? I'll tell you how I fix that. You know what, Deshaun Watson? Here, see, this whole thing of you want to go here, you want to go there. No. I'll trade you. But you know what? The Jets, you want them? I want 7 number 1 picks. Now, hey, if you're so confident in them, give me the 7 picks. But otherwise, you're my quarterback. I'm not taking a loss. I just paid you $40 million a year.
156 big ones.
Right. I just paid you 156. Now, I'm going to spend that money, and I got to take that money on for people I didn't want because of you?
Right.
No.
Right.
He only goes for 7 number 1s. Otherwise, you play for me or you sit home and I keep your money. Play poker with him. Play poker with him.
When you come back, if you decide to come back, you're only getting so much of your contract. You're not getting 100% of your contract. Right. You broke your contract. there's a new contract in,
Right.
you're getting 10% of it.
What's
That's
he
it.
going to do? Not hustle? So you don't hustle, then you fine him. You take him away. You play poker. You just don't let the guy go. Don't let him go.
These owners and the NFL in a whole are just fell so far behind. Like the players have so much say, and they got to take it back. Now's the time to take it
But
back.
you know what, though,
During
Kenny?
crisis.
Not all teams. Because, again, it doesn't happen with the Patriots. It doesn't happen with the Spurs. It doesn't happen with good organizations. It doesn't.
No, the Giants don't let it really happen.
The Giants don't. It doesn't. Good organizations don't let it happen. So,
Again, some of these guys' paychecks are more than people making for a week.
right.
Is more than what people making an
But
entire year.
We sit here all the time, but Kyrie Irving was upset with what's going on in the world, so I'm not going to play. So, in all seriousness, why can't I be upset of how the Super Bowl ended? I don't want to go to work for a week. You don't want to go to work, Kenny.
He's upset what's
Your
going on
Yankees
in the
lost.
world.
You're not going to the hospital. That's not how life works.
Then opt out. Then opt out of the
Exactly.
season.
Opt out, no salary. I'm taking my paycheck, and that's it. That's it.
Yep.
So, all right, boys, that was a good show tonight. That was a fired up topic to end.
Yeah, it was.
But it was good. Tomorrow night, Wits and Wages, Kenny, we'll do our weekly college basketball picks.
We'll do weekly college basketball, and I got a little fun game for you guys. We'll introduce that tomorrow. A little spoiler. It's going to be on the off-season NFL, and we're going to make our predictions on where these 20 players are going to go, and we'll have a little game of it, and we'll come up with a little fun wager for the panel, and the audience can be involved too. And part of the Wits and Wagers show tomorrow. We'll tune in tomorrow to see what that's all about.
Awesome.
Big thank you to Anthony Gangi and Connie Elaine for joining us tonight. And big thanks to Coach Brislin and Jim Sickinger and Mike Llauget. Congrats to the Buccaneers.
Absolutely.
Nice having a Bucs fan on the show.
Absolutely. All right, boys. See you guys tomorrow. Great show.
See you tomorrow, and have a good night, everybody.